Hello and welcome to the stream, everybody. I hope you're all well. Thank you for coming. Everybody is appreciated. Tonight I've got three very special guests, well technically four. We've got Mark from Centroid Aerial Images in the window above. Do you want to say a quick hello, mate?
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming to the stream.
Yeah, we've got,
appreciate it.
Brad and Sarah from B-Town Paranormal. I'm pointing in the wrong way. Yeah, do you want to say hello real quick? And then to my to your right, my left, we've got Dennis from DGM Films. Do you want to say a quick hello, mate?
Hi guys, how you doing?
You know, thanks for joining me. I'm Steve. Obviously, most people in the chat already know me anyway as Steve from Aerial Views and Histories UK. I'm just going to have a quick run through the chat. Now remember, we are talking about all different kinds of conspiracy theories. I have a loose set of topics that I want to follow. If something comes up in the chat, which it most often does, we will be talking about that as well. So I'm just going to have a quick run through the chat. Bear in mind, supporting each other's channels is highly recommended by me. And the links to all these guys' channels is in the description below. So if you want to check them out, also highly recommended. Okay, so I'm just going to run through the chat and say me hellos. Hello to FSV, my young apprentice. I hope you're doing well, mate. He's coming round tomorrow. We're going to possibly go out flying. ASAP Fishing, how's it going, buddy? Keza, good to see you. Kerry Hannaford, I really hope you're well. Proper FPV, good to see you. Lots of familiar faces in here tonight, which is what I like. Centroid's in the chat. You know, make sure to check his channel out. Who else we got in the chat here then? Eagle VP has been a big inspiration to me. You know, nice to see you in here, mate. And DGM's good mates with the Eagle as well. Nathan Lights Drums, Buster Tim, great to see you. Asgard Studios. Oh, we've got a whole host of great people in tonight. So I hope you enjoy the show. And in a minute, we're going to get on to running through some of the topics and whatnot. But first, Mark, do you want to tell us a little bit about your channel, mate? And then, yeah, just whatever you like, mate. How do you best describe your channel?
It's a work in progress. I've only been on YouTube for about 3-4 months now. Just started doing live stream. It's primarily themed around drones, but I've also been getting into a lot of 3D printing, or I should say getting back into it. And hopefully it's all centralized around drones, and been messing around with some 3D editing and construction that I hope to be putting some videos on, but that's pretty much it. So I haven't been doing drones that much either. I started that about 2 months before YouTube, so it's all coming together hopefully into one big mess.
Nice. And I mean, I only really met you properly this morning actually. Yeah, I decided to ask you to give me a call and whatnot. We got chatting, and it was a damn good chat. It was for a couple of hours as well, wasn't it? Really,
yeah, I was pretty tired when we done.
The hours, it was really good. So, B-Town Paranormal, do you want to tell us a bit about yourselves and the channel?
Yeah, sure. We've been on YouTube for about
2.5 years.
2.5 years now. We mainly focus around paranormal, ghost hunting. We do urban exploring as well. Anything from your haunted cemeteries all the way up to your demonic possessions and cases.
Yeah, then we pretty much explore insane asylums, abandoned buildings, factories,
anything abandoned. And we also are doing drone footage as well. We do some drone videos as well.
We've got, what, 3 drone videos on our channel?
About 3 or 4 of them. We're still new with drone.
That's all cool. So I'll move on to Dennis then. If you've been in my streams before, you may recognise Dennis. He's still refusing to put on a tinfoil hat, so make sure you hammer him in the comments about that. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your channel, mate?
Yeah, it's all about it's about quite a few things actually. I do short films, all sort of genres, and I also do behind the scenes. I do a lot of tutorials on FX makeup. Yet to be put up. I put one up. Yet to put some more up. I also do non-copyright. I produce my own music, so for people to use on their drone videos or any of their sort of productions they want to use it on. And I'm hoping to go live, do live streams myself one day, to sort of interview other sort of filmmaking channels as well, so we can get to know and build a community of filmmakers together, because I've not seen one yet. If anyone knows of one, I'd like to know, but I've not seen one yet. So it's, you know, all filmmakers together looking, you know, to help each other out and things like that. So that's about it, really.
Yeah, man, that sounds real good. We've got a few new people now in the chat, 20 people watching. Thanks for all coming in, showing your support, and I hope you enjoy the topics and the discussion tonight. Feel free to chip in the chat, because, you know, many times on these conspiracy streams, we've gone off on real tangents on what people have been putting in the chat. So, yeah, I was going to say hello to Old Guy and the Drone. Great to see you, mate. I think it's the first time you've been in my stream. I met you the other day on Canadian Drone Hub, I believe. And Roger said he was going to be popping in, so, you know, he has my absolute support. Right, so, yeah, we've got PM's Adventure Vlogs. Sorry, I'm sort of tripping over my own words there. Great to see you. Rick Lewis says, Steve, man, take off the glasses, don't be shy. I'm sort of doing that because it's sort of like incognito, you know what I mean? I want to remain anonymous in case there's any blowback from anything I say, basically. If you want me to take off the glasses, I will. I was only doing it as a laugh. Just put that in the chat if you want to see me take the glasses off, and I will. It's more of a joke than anything. Tyler James, Outdoors, great to see you. James Ward, great to see you as well. I think I did shout you out right there. Rod Piker from Northern Ireland, he gets some great drone videos. I hope you're doing well, mate. FSV is now back in the chat, good to see you. My young apprentice, 13 years old, and he flies like an absolute pro, I'm not kidding. Yeah, there we go. We're just looking through. Kim Discovering History, great to see you as well. Osbeach Andy. Make sure you could check each other out. You know, highly recommended. Grow the community, support the community, all that lot. This is really what we do and we enjoy, and that's how we want to go, you know. So I do have a loose list of topics, right, and I do know that B-Town Paranormal have a few that they want to talk about, but we will get to them in time. So essentially, I'm going to go straight in for this. Have you ever heard the conspiracy theory about the CIA created the HIV virus? Has anybody ever heard of that?
No.
Oh, yeah.
You've heard of that before?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, about it. Like,
I do have a little bit of facts and that I'm happy to read out, and sort of once we've gone through that, we'll have a little discussion about it. So I'm just going to read out a couple of bits and bobs. So HIV was first discovered in 1981. Lots of rumours, theories and whatnot, and conspiracy theorists thought it was created by the CIA to wipe out African Americans, homosexuals, on the orders of President Nixon, right? That's how the conspiracy theory goes. A lot of high-profile supporters of that, including a South African president, and all sorts of things, you know, from, you know, going way back. And a Nobel Peace Prize winner as well also supports it. There is also the counter conspiracy theory that it was created, the myth itself was created by the Soviet Union as a bid to, you know, disinformation and whatnot during the Cold War. And there is sort of like published letters and everything as to how all that went on. Despite this, a lot of scientists, doctors have agreed the virus jumped from monkeys to humans in the Congo sometime in the 1930s. I mean, does anybody want to weigh in? Do you think it's real? What do you think about that? We'll start with Mark. I'm going to generally go Mark, B-Town, Dennis, like in the way that the windows are arranged. So I might mix that up a little bit, so make sure you stay on your toes. Like I do like to just throw them out there as we go. So what do you reckon to that then, Mark?
I heard about it, especially in the late '80s. I remember when I was in college, they talked a lot about it, but I never got any specific information that you're talking about. Never paid it much attention. to be honest with you, so I can't really add to what you've already done. When that came out and it hit the United States, I was part of the crowd that was just worried about not getting the virus. So I didn't care who started it. I just didn't want it.
That's fair enough. Do you have anything to add, or maybe what do you think the actual true story is then, B-Town?
You know, I like he said, I heard about it, but I never really gave it much thought. But now that you really think about it, it's somehow it had to start somewhere. It didn't just pop up randomly.
Mm. Yeah, it is very rare that a virus as powerful as the HIV virus, which the effects are still being felt to this day, actually just seems to come out of nowhere. So, Dennis from DGM, what do you reckon, mate?
I've never heard of it, but I wouldn't put it past someone to develop something like that to sort of wipe something out. But in the flip side, if they're going to develop something, I think they'd always have a sort of cure sort of thing straight away, like a vaccine, just in case it hit people that they liked or they truly loved doing things like that. So I don't know if anything like that, because if you develop something like that, you always develop the vaccine as well before you send it out, I think.
Yeah, okay. Everyone's saying my volume's a little bit low. I'm just going to up my volume slightly and just adjust the levels. I hope that's made everything better. I'm sorry, Mark. Go on, mate. What was you going to say?
Oh, that's okay. That's quite all right. I mean, along the same lines, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, weren't we, the United States, responsible for anthrax?
Responsible for many things, but I'm not going to. I know the individuals aren't to blame.
Supposedly, allegedly responsible for anthrax.
Many countries around the world are responsible for all sorts. It's never the majority of the civilian sort of inhabitants. Like, there is a lot of top secret stuff that goes on, like secret agendas and whatnot. So if I ever say you, I don't mean you. I just mean this particular country or whatever. I mean, Britain's done plenty of terrible stuff as well, to be fair. So I don't know. The thing is, with the HIV virus, it doesn't actually sort of do any damage itself. It's like an effect of the virus that disables the human immune system, which is sort of unlike any other virus.
Very successful.
Which is sort of what leads people to believe it was sort of created by people. It is a very, very odd one and very effective against primates and humans. So this is where the theory comes from, that it was back in the 1930s. That's the official theory, rather than the conspiracy theory. So, I remember one really funny skit. I think it was Ricky Gervais did a funny bit where he was like, "Oh, you can imagine the scientists going into the Congo, like, and saying, about the AIDS virus, and people have got it, and he says, oh well, you've been eating the monkeys, you know what I mean? And there's like, oh no, we haven't been eating the monkeys. And it's like, well, you've been eating them, or you've been screwing them,
Well, honestly, that's what they said in the 80s. They said that is essentially, well, that's what I had heard, and that was the rumor. That's how it got transferred to the human race, was how shall we say, bestiality. And again, I have no facts to support that. That's just the rumor that they said. But that's, like I said, it was neither here nor there. I have no evidence to suggest that is absolutely true.
Okay, so what do we reckon then? Official story or conspiracy theory? We'll hear from Dennis in reverse order this time. What do you reckon it is, mate? Do you reckon the official story's right, or do you think the conspiracy theory is to be believed?
To be believed, yeah. It is to be believed, yeah.
Yeah, okay. What do you reckon then, B-Town? Official or unofficial?
I think it's to be believed. I wouldn't put anything past today's government, to be honest.
Because the government is already creating a line of super soldiers that's
a whole different topic.
Yeah. It's all right. We like tangents. We do.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
They're creating super soldiers. I wouldn't put anything
government's
past
got it's like with the whole virus thing, epidemic. They got weapons of mass destruction that no one even can begin to imagine.
Off topic, but I wouldn't put it past them yet.
I mean, the government can do anything they want to with the funds and stuff they got going on. Yeah, I won't put it past them.
Okay, Mark, what do you reckon, mate? Are we talking conspiracy theorists to be believed or official story to be believed on this one?
Well, I hate to rip off a word from the old Mythbusters. I'm going to go with plausible. I don't know if they actually did it. I wouldn't put it past them. I do agree with Dennis. I mean, if they're going to do this kind of development, that they would try to have an anecdote first, just in case. But you never know. I mean, the viruses these days morph pretty quickly, and they may have just as well designed one that morphed out of control before they could have an effective, antidote. So that's why I say it's definitely plausible, because when you start slicing and splicing genes, you don't know what's going to happen.
Okay. I'm just going to sort of keep up with the chat a little bit here. Interactive DNA says, Centroid aerial images, your hat is classic. I will agree. You do win the tinfoil hat contest tonight. That is definitely out there. If you're going to do it, you're going to do it right.
I told you, when I do things, I go all the way. That's my fault.
White Rose is asking where Dennis's hat is.
It's invisible.
You're going to have to wrap one up real quick, mate. Paint your head silver.
I haven't got anything.
Do
I haven't
something.
got anything.
Right?
Hold on a sec.
Yeah, Rod Piker's asking, Dennis, do you have a link to your channel? Please, everybody watching, please remember, if you don't see Mark, Brad and Sarah or Dennis in the chat, the links to their channels are in the description below the live stream. So if you want to check them out, if you don't see them in the chat, that's where they're going to be. Okay. Right there. Okay. Tony Rafter Gore Noir. Nice to meet you, mate. I haven't seen you anywhere before. He says, since 2016, I have jumped into YouTube watching and searching info. I was so surprised and enjoyed having others' opinions, knowledge. Yeah, man, thank you. I hope you're talking about the live stream. I hope you're enjoying it, mate, and I hope you stick around for a little bit. It's a great community we've got here. It's all good. Feel free to visit people. Let them know you've been to visit the channel. Subscribe to them if you like, and then just let them know, and they'll probably return the favour, Okay, I'm just looking through. White Rose Adventures says, I heard a conspiracy that the government is letting knife and gun crime get out of control in London to cull the black/migrant population. Also was the reason for Grenfell Tower. Now, I don't know how far the news of Grenfell Tower travelled. I am going to sort of go into this a little bit because it is interesting. Essentially, there was a tower in London, like a multi-storey block of housing called Grenfell Tower, which had this lagging all around the outside, and it didn't meet regulations. It was extremely flammable, and this block of flats went up literally in hours, and a lot of people died, mostly ethnic, black populations and stuff. And it was all, the government blamed it on like budget cuts and whatever. Yeah, I don't really want to talk about it too much because it is going sort of into politics that way, and it is fairly recent, so there is still sort of open wounds about that at the minute, so I am going to sort of leave that one there as it was. I just thought I'd put the information out there. So yeah, Rod Piker says great channel, DGM, spot on. Yeah, everyone's going round supporting each other. That's always very good. Keep up the good work. Yeah. Rick Lewis says, think maybe one topic at a time might have been better here. Well, I mean, we just cover anything as we go along, mate. We try and be as thorough as we can, or I do anyway. Tyler James Outdoors says he's close to 400, so if you've not got him, make sure you go and pay him a visit. Dennis has one on, says Asgard Studios, but it's invisible. So there you go, mate. You've got the most high-tech one of all, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay. Interactive.
I got mine from Area 51.
Yeah. We're on like we've just covered the first topic, and the chat is literally flowing in. I like this. Please keep it up. Interactive DNA says we're in the digital age. Worst thing that can happen is the control of data. In one click, the world economy could collapse. If you control data, you control everything today. That is very interesting. and I'm just going to go through the chat, and I'm going to return to that point, I think. Everyone's saying hello to each other. Centroid says, totally agree, information equals total power. I'll get back to that in a minute, mate, because I'm sure from what you're putting in the chat that there is things you want to say. Centroid has a new subscriber from Kim Discovering History. That's very, very good. You know, Design and More says hello. I've not seen you before. Nice to meet you. Always good to have new faces in here. And you're more than welcome, honestly. Okay, right, we've sort of got through the chat a little bit there. So this, you know, control of data, technology is power. Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit then, Mark?
Well, I'm just going to reference the movie from the early 80s or late 80s, early 90s, one called Sneakers. If you haven't seen it, it was the first time I'd kind of keyed in on this idea of control of data. I mean, we have, like Interactive said, we have gone totally digital. I mean, even myself, when I'm in the classroom, when I'm teaching, if the technology I'm using breaks down, it takes me, well, I can just go right to old chalk and talk, but I mean, you know, you develop everything around it, and if it doesn't work, you're done. And so if you put all your eggs in one basket, which it seems like we do a lot of times, then yeah, somebody can just push a button and shut you down. I mean, you can reference all kinds of movies. You know, the Die Hard movie. I forget which one it was, but I mean, they reference that concept, and it does. It makes sense that if we have everything digital, it's all electric. You know, shut it down, and we're helpless.
Yeah.
At least it feels that way.
And obviously you're in like the teaching profession and whatnot. Would you like at least to have like large portions of lessons being done old school? You know, like you know, whiteboards or chalkboards or anything like that?
Well, when I started doing a little bit more technology in the classroom, I got, well, if anybody knows what they are, they're called a smart board. And it's basically just a big mouse on a wall that you draw on, and it projects what you're writing. So it's like you're writing on a whiteboard. But I purposely, maybe because of influence from those movies, I purposely designed my lesson so if that ever shuts down, I have that in hard format, and I go right to the whiteboard. I told them, don't take my whiteboards away. So I got one next to each other, and I go back and forth anyway. So I've got a mix just in case. I mean, our grading system is completely digital, and they even went web-based now, which, you know, if unless you can, I don't keep a hard copy of grades, and I put all my faith in that. And if the system goes down, you know, this is going to sound horrible, but I'm like, hey, that's their fault, not my fault. So I put the information in, and they got to maintain it and back it up and do what they got to do. But I mean, even the school districts have gone almost completely digital here in New York as far as storing records. There's no more hard copies of things. We don't bubble sheets. We don't write anything down as far as that. So as far as lessons, I do have hard copies, but as far as grades, I'm completely on the net.
Okay, right. I'm just going to return to the chat real quick. We've got a few other new faces I've not seen before. It's always great getting new people in. Nice to meet you, honestly. Check out the links in the description to these guys' channels as well. You know, great people with great channels. We've got Jojo Walker Unplugged, hashtag Nations, Nation of Domination. I think that's...
Hi, Jojo.
Yeah. Oh, is this one of your friends?
Yeah. How?
Oh, good. Oh, you know what I mean? That's all good. Yeah. Yeah. Great to meet you, Jojo. Real good. Yeah, that's cool. White Rose says, if technology crashes, most people are screwed. I know bushcraft and survival skills my mate had. To Google how to make a fire when we were camping. Yeah, now making a fire when you're camping is a lot harder than it looks if you don't know what you're doing. If you do know what you're doing, you can do it fairly quick. Rick Lewis says probably best you didn't go into Grenfell Towers, as you don't seem to have much info into that just yet. I've not really done my research on it, to be fair, and I don't want to say anything insensitive because just out of sheer ignorance, basically. So Brad and Sarah then, what do you think about sort of how technology is progressing and how everything's becoming more and more reliant on it? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, would you say?
My whole theory on it is, you like nowadays, back, you know, when we were growing up, back in like the 90s, you didn't have tablets and cell phones where you can watch YouTube and all this stuff on. And it's just like now technology has took over everything. Like you can sit there and order groceries from your phone and never have to leave your house.
I don't think it's good. I mean, we are too dependent on technology, and like someone said in the chat, one push of a button and it's done. I mean,
to me, I feel like because now a lot of these newer cars are all run off computer and the internet and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's weird that nowadays, like for me, if I went out and bought a brand new car, I couldn't work on it because of the simple fact that I don't have these $4,000, $5,000 computers to scan. But now, like on like 04s to like 98s, you know, if your car starts making like a funny noise, you can well, that's a wheel bearing, that's this and this. But now you got to have a computer to even know what your tire pressure is going down the interstate.
I don't think it's a good idea. I don't.
I mean, it's just like with cell phones, especially cell phones. People are they're shopping online, they're doing this and they're doing that. Come to find out, a couple of years ago, China, they were putting these chips in cell phones, and every time you enter your card number or you buy something, it gets sent from your phone over to China, and they would record everything you bought. And that's coming from my cell phone provider when I went and paid my bill.
So, long story short, no, we don't think it's a good idea.
No,
Okay. Right.
I say
Yeah, sorry.
just keep it old school.
Yeah. Before I go on to Dennis's thoughts on this, I've just noticed Jeanette Pickering's in the chat now. Honestly, she is a lovely lady, and apparently she makes a mind-blowing lemon drizzle, which I am soon going to sample on January the 17th when I go visit. That's all good with a few of my cronies. We're going to have a meet-up and a fly around Sheffield with our drones. So we've got Equinox Photography in the chat. Now, he is always very, very keen to chip in the chat. It's great to see you, mate. PD Tech, awesome. Baz Burton's in here as well. You know, everybody check each other out. Missing Persons and Mysteries says, hey, bud, thanks for stopping by last night. I was having serious issues with my internet connection. That's all good, mate. I dropped in. I thought, you know what I mean? It's the first time I've caught one of your live streams. And you didn't seem to be having a good time of it. I hope you managed to get your set up straight, mate. That's all good. You know, from the bottom of my heart, I hope it all goes well for you. So here we go. Let me sort of frame it in a slightly different way then. So with the emergence of sort of modern technology, the digital age and whatnot, I'm sort of aiming this one to Dennis, like essentially, you know, say you've got your debit card or your credit card or whatever, and obviously everything you buy is, you know what I mean, recorded, how you paid for it, you know, where necessarily, if you've used a card machine or anything like that. And essentially everything you do in that respect is tracked, your location, your purchases. And, you know, if police want them records, they can request them and they'll get them. You know, and the entire system in the digital age is pushing towards sort of a cashless society anyway, and where a sort of system where everything's tracked, recorded, documented, saved in that sort of way. Do you think it's eventually going to go to a point where, like, it will be a cashless society where everything's documented, recorded, and whatnot, mate? And I mean, what are your overall thoughts on that, to Dennis?
Yeah, it's about there now. We're almost there now. I mean, I'd say 10 years ago, I'd always had cash in my wallet. Now it's just a card. All my wallet is just cards. It's just easy. I mean, people don't even use cards nowadays. They use the phone. You know, you just put the phone up to a screen and it pays everything for it. So yeah, we are definitely going that way, which is sad really, because like if everything shuts down, you can't pay for anything. You know, I mean, a lot of people. it's easier. I mean, I can understand if if you get robbed, you don't have no cash on you, so it's not if you get mugged, you don't get nothing gets stolen, because if your car gets stolen, it gets cancelled straight away. But in the flip side, it's quite sad, because I used to like the old ways where you used to pay things with cash. You knew where you were, you know how much cash you had on you, and you knew where it was going, and no one could keep a track on it, basically, but yourself. It's like if I want to get my wife something for a surprise, I can't really, because you pay a card and it's on the statement, through the bank. And what you've always been talking about, it's with the flip side, is it good, is it bad with the technology? I mean, today's technology is moving so fast. It's moving faster than anyone can think, because 10 years ago you wouldn't have the phones you've got now, touch screen phones and things. If you want your kids to shut up, you just turn the internet off. You shut them down at the same time. But with us, we can survive without the internet, because we know what it's like to not have the internet. And with the kids today, and people, you see them at the bus stop. You see a couple at the bus stop not talking to each other. They've got their heads in the phone, and the kids, that's all they know is heads in the phone, and they don't know how to communicate with each other unless they've got a phone in their hand. So. It is sad, really.
It's definitely going towards a system of far more control and
definitely control, because
sort of consenting to it as well, just for the sheer convenience, know.
I think technology nowadays controls kids. It really does.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And I mean, go on, Mark, chip in, mate.
I'm just saying. I mean, just the issues we have in school with phones. I mean. These kids just can't put them down. I actually offered a girl, no joke, and I knew I wasn't going to lose the money. I said to her one day, I said, I bet you can't live a day without your phone. She goes, I sure can. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $20 tomorrow if you give me your phone before first block, and then you don't pick it up from me until the end of the day. She said, deal. So I said, crap. She called my bluff. So I made sure I had a 20 spot on me. Next day, she turned in her phone. 3 blocks later, about 2.5 hours later, she came back to me and she said, give me my phone. I said, what? You're not going to wait the end of the day? She goes, no, give me my phone. I need my phone. I said, oh, damn. I was hoping I was wrong, but yeah, I agree. Even my own daughter, I offered her money once to go a week without it, and she didn't dig me up on it. I just experiment with it. And you're right, they can't even look in somebody's eyes that much and talk to them. They're always looking at the damn phone.
Yeah.
The interpersonal skills are kind of going away, and that's why I get a kick out of why they call it social media, because I don't even find it that social anymore.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Missing Persons and Mysteries says, you aren't kidding about the tinfoil hats. I love it. Yep, deadly serious, mate. You've got to stop them alien mind control rays getting in. You don't want to be controlled by the reptiles. All right. I don't know where I'm going with that. You know what I mean? That's all good. Interactive DNA says, in the USA, things are about to change in a big way. We'll have to... Sorry, mate. Go on. That's all right. That's right. I think he's talking to somebody else. Interactive DNA says, in the USA, things are about to change in a big way. We'll have to have a national ID with our face data recorded. You'll not be able to fly or enter any F building without the new data ID. This is the way things are going, and there was a proposed national ID card in the UK. Did you ever hear of that, Dennis, about the ID
card?
Yeah, I
did, yeah.
That had something like 100 different forms of ID on it, including DNA information, like information on things like urine samples, eye colour, eye scans, fingerprints, all on one card that you'd have to carry on you at all times.
Yeah.
Now, I think governments would love for that to be the case, where they can literally track anybody, follow anybody. And these things had RFID chips as well, so you can literally just look up on a computer where someone is, and you can get them to within like a metre of where they actually are. And I think a lot of governments would love that sort of control over people, but that was eventually scrapped in the UK, essentially because the people refused to actually live by them sort of standards, and a lot of countries are starting to go that way. I mean, China's a good example. They've got that social credit system on the go now, which is basically a template for how most governments want to control their own populations, I'd say. with you know, any bad behaviour gets punished. You can't get certain jobs, you can't get a passport, you can't rent houses. If you not even for committing crimes, we're talking about just judging someone purely on the behaviour and their own thoughts. So I mean, if you've not been polite to somebody, that'll go against your credit score, which is even more worrying. And I mean, there's cameras everywhere, and they have a lot of police which document things. And basically being a good egg and going with the government sort of narrative all the time and being a good worker gets you further up the line, you know. PD Tech, real quick, like sorry mate. PD Tech says, Steve, have you lined your house with chicken wire mesh? It's essential if you're a tinfoil hat wearer. Now, just the tinfoil hat will do, mate. I'm not going as far as creating a full Faraday cage around my house. You know, that's all good. My good friend Walking into the Unknown with Jay has just come in, and I mean, I've been mates with him about 13, 14 years, and I met up with him for the first time in about 10 years on Friday. We snuck into RAF Binbrook. I've still got to make a video out of this, a vlog video. And essentially we got caught sneaking around where we shouldn't have been, and we got told to sling our hook. That's the politest way of putting it. That's good. Okay, Abandoned City Camo Crew. Great to see you. We're getting a lot of familiar faces in and some new ones as well. I love it so much. Thanks for coming in. So does any... Sorry, mate. Who was about to say something there? Oh, no. It's all right. Does anybody else have any sort of final thoughts or anything to add on the entire prevalence of technology and how fast it's advancing? Anybody want to add anything?
Well, I might interject, and I'm sure other people have thought of this, but I mean, just think about all of us who fly drones these days and where they're made. I mean, I don't want to start a conspiracy, but I always thought what an easy way for these companies to collect data by literally having tons of us flying drones and us taking video footage where they can just collect this data. Yeah. About landscapes and everything. I mean, just think, I mean, make for a great sci-fi novel, if nothing else.
Yes, indeed. And I mean, the US has already rejected using any Chinese-made drones, you know, in military, for military use for that reason, because that information can be relayed back to China, you know, and things are going a bit sour out there. On the official levels, things are going a bit sour with China, so they don't want any spying or anything like that. And also there was a big UK tech firm and a Chinese company tried buying a massive amount of like shares in it, and the UK government blocked it just because they don't want China basically being able to steal prototype designs and things like that. Okay, right. Anybody else have anything to add? Because I do have a whole list of topics. I don't care if I get through one more or all of them, as long as the conversation is in depth and interesting and entertaining. We're having a good laugh. So any final thoughts, anybody?
Any final thoughts?
No, we are all good in that respect. Okay, right, I'm going to sort of jackknife into something completely different here then. Chemtrails. Anybody ever heard about these?
No.
No, this is essentially a conspiracy theory that major airlines, backed by government and science organisations, use like chemicals in aeroplanes, specifically jumbo jets. So when you look up in the sky, you see them really long trails that can go on for like hundreds of miles. They're usually in like parallel lines and crisscross designs like a grid. And essentially they spray things like aluminium oxide, boron, all sorts of different chemicals into the atmosphere to either poison the population or manipulate weather. Have you ever heard about any of this? And I mean, what's your thoughts on that? It's not ever been thoroughly debunked, and it's not ever been thoroughly proven. There is a lot of people, and it is quite a big, well-known conspiracy theory, the chemtrail one, with all sorts of different opinions being thrown left and right. So, yeah, we'll start with Mark again, right above me. What are your thoughts on this, mate? And anything you want to add?
Well, I've never heard of the specific name chemtrail, but they've always talked about how cool it would be to be able to control the weather. I can only imagine that some of these conspiracies pertaining to weather control would love to tap into the whole global warming thing as to whether or not we're controlling that, or if it's just happenstance, as a result of just sheer human abuse. But I haven't heard of any specific research pertaining to it. Chemtrail is the first time I ever heard a name put to it, to be honest with you. So,
what do you reckon, B-Town?
No, I've never heard of the whole chemtrail theory, but I do have a friend of mine who is a pilot for American Airlines. And I've actually asked him once before what is the white smoke, and he said is nine times out of 10, it's whenever you're on a plane and you go to the bathroom or stuff like that. What it is, when you go and flush, it goes into a holding tank, but when the tanks get full or they need to lose weight on the plane, essentially, they release the water. Flying 3,200,000 feet in the air, the air is particularly colder than what it would be lower to the ground, and it's actually frozen toilet paper and stuff like that. That
what the government wants, I think.
That could be true too, but they say it's when they release the sewage tanks on the airplane, it's just frozen toilet paper and urine and feces.
That's even grosser than the actual chemical.
Yeah, I think the official explanation is something to do with the heat and pressure inside the jet engines. Obviously, at high altitudes forms like frost and ice crystals, which can remain hanging in the atmosphere. But now the official name for that is contrails, you see, and they're only supposed to last about 15 to 20 seconds. And the really long trails in the sky have only been seen really for sort of the past 20 or 30 years, when jumbo jets have obviously been around for a lot longer than that. There is some people who actually believe that there's nozzles on the back of the wings that release chemicals as they fly along, because sometimes you watch a plane, and if you watch them long enough, sometimes they're not giving off any trail, and then out of nowhere, a real thick trail starts coming out the back. And then sometimes it just switches off completely. I don't know whether to believe it or not, but I definitely do think that it is, we'll use the word again, plausible that something like that is happening. So do you want to share your thoughts on this, Dennis?
I think it's plausible, like you say, it's plausible, but I don't... obviously, there's so many pilots and so many people who know pilots, who know other people. I think eventually, if that was happening, then I think that story would get out, because nothing is kept quiet. People like to talk. So if they were trying to control the weather or put chemicals in the air of some sort from planes, I think someone would leak it somewhere down the line, and then someone would find out. Then it wouldn't be a conspiracy. I think if that was happening, everyone would know. To be honest.
Okay. Well, yeah. Essentially, there is a few people in the chat, and now this does tie in. Good point made by Walking Into the Unknown with Jay. This did slip my mind for a second, but I was going to go into it. In the 1950s, just to go off on a little tangent, they did actually experiment with cloud seeding using aeroplanes, and they did claim to be successful, actually seeding clouds. Now, Abandoned City Camo Crew, I'm sort of trying to piece all of the chat together into sort of like quite a, sort of like sensical sort of argument, Abandoned City Camo Crew says, film a chemtrail and see what happens. I've filmed them, they're spread out into sheet clouds. Now, a few times, and I've looked into this and people make videos about it, sometimes you see a load of different planes and then you get this sort of grid system of the trails in the sky. And if you do watch them, they do actually get really wispy and spread out, and then before you know it, the weather's overcast. Whether that's actual coincidence or not is one thing or another. I mean, overcast is 50% of the time in the UK, whether that's to do with planes putting chemicals there or not. is another story. Now, this actually ties into what is known as HARP. If anybody's ever heard of HARP, does anybody know?
No.
No, it stands for, without looking it up, the High Altitude Auroral Research Program, and this is a network of these massive antennas in this huge grid. I mean, we're talking like rows of like hundreds, and the objective apparently of what it's designed to do, and this is like top secret sort of stuff, I believe it's in Alaska, is to fire like different radio waves at the ionosphere and create like a say the ionosphere is like round like that, to actually bubble it out, you see. And it's believed that possibly putting certain chemicals into the atmosphere alongside HARP could have all sorts of different weather consequences around the world in such a way that it could be being used as a directed weather weapon, you know, like tornadoes, tsunamis, things like that. What's your thoughts on that as a whole, Mike? Do you think that ties in, or do you think any of that's sort of legit? I mean, a lot of it is speculation. It is top secret what HARP does.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, again, I think it all stems back. I'm glad whoever was that mentioned the thing about cloud seeding, they brought that up, because that's where I remember hearing more about that. But again, yeah, I mean, I don't put it past any government doing any kind of research that would benefit them. And again, if you know, the weather is a very unpredictable thing, and if you can tap into that, yeah, I mean, it'd be a wonderful thing. Well, I should say it'd be a wonderful thing, but for that government, it'd be a wonderful thing for them to control. But I have, again, plausible, but I don't have any anecdotes to support it.
Okay. What do you reckon then, Brad and Sarah, or Brad or Sarah, about chemtrails, links to HARP? And someone has put in the chat that HARP isn't just one location. These locations are dotted around the world. I've only heard of the one that's supposedly in Alaska. What do you reckon? Do you think there is plans to try and make a directed weather weapon that can generate tornadoes, tsunamis, floods, things like that, by controlling weather using HARP, and possibly the chemicals in chemtrails as well? What do you reckon to any of that?
I mean, it is possible, because of the fact that, you know, we're having all these freak storms that come out of nowhere, like the tsunamis and stuff like that basically just come out of nowhere.
Good example. Remember back in 2015, we lived in Lower Alabama at the time, and out of nowhere, we were hit from Texas to Georgia. 28 tornadoes in less than 2 days. Yeah, in less than 2 days. 28 tornadoes touched down in less than 2 days.
And killed
thousands.
Like, killed thousands of people. But the thing about it, what's funny, is that the weather station didn't see. They seen storms form.
They didn't foresee it coming.
But they didn't, like she said, they didn't foresee the all out Armageddon in other sense that it caused. I mean, 28 tornadoes in 4 states, like all right there in the line. It's just like they went from Texas and they went all the way. They followed the line and did catastrophical, and that's not a common thing.
I don't think that's a coincidence. I really don't.
I
wouldn't put it past. I still won't put anything past the government after what I've witnessed. I've been around to witness.
Okay, Dennis, do you want to chip in any thoughts or anything, mate? Because I have got a couple more points to make, but I want to hear your opinions on this.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, someone's doing something. You know, why not try and make a weapon out of the weather? You know, you can't blame it on anybody, then, can you?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got clean hands, haven't they?
That's right. I mean, if you press a button, you know where it's coming from. But if someone can develop a big tornado or tsunami, or, you know, they're going to use that, and then they can't blame anybody but, you know, the Earth doing what it does. So yeah, I think, you know, with 28 tornadoes touching down in a couple of days, there's got to be someone trying something out. It's got to be. I mean, you see lots of weather programs, but you never see 28 tornadoes in a couple of days. You know, killing that many people. I mean, they have to test it somewhere, and they're probably worth testing. So
we just had all those major hurricanes that hit the states this past year, and I can't quote the number because I don't want to be wrong, but it's more in this year alone, these megastorms than we've seen ever before in that shorter period of time. And yeah, I'm sure global warming has something to do with it, but who knows what causes that? You know, for sure. I mean, we all think we know, but you never know.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I mean, if we're talking about HARP, someone in the chat, let me see if I can find it back. I am reading the chat. You know, whenever a really good point's made, I do call it out. I can't find it now. The chat is going fairly quick, and I've got it on quite a big window. Yeah, but somebody said, I'm just trying to find the comment now. Just looking for it. Yeah, they said that the HARP site in Alaska apparently is now shut down, but there is numerous other ones around the world. Now, if you think about this not as like a US conspiracy, but more of like a New World Order type conspiracy. I mean, they're not going to care where they're using these weapons, just to prototype them at very least. I mean, what does anybody think about that? I mean, in terms of, do you think it is just the US, or do you think it's sort of like, you know, the men behind the curtain, as it were, actually just testing these wherever they like, for when they've actually got maybe a full agenda for how they want to use them? I'll pose that one to Dennis for now, like, because I'll keep trying to reverse the order, make sure everyone gets the bit in. What do you reckon, Dennis?
I think everyone's got their hands in it, because, you know, every country wants to be the first country to develop something. Everyone's in a race to develop the best technology, the best. I mean, why not do, you know, be the first to develop something like that? You know, I think every government in every country has got something up the sleeve, and they're doing something with it.
Now, Centroid's put in the chat, the Earth is due for a culling, I believe it's called, a mass wipeout of species. Do you want to go into that a little bit more, mate?
Yeah, I've read a few books. I'm trying to think of the name of the author right now. He's the one who did the Da Vinci Code. One of his latest books talks about someone who's trying to help the planet by wiping out a certain portion of the human race in order to save the human race. So it's supposedly an act of kindness, sadly enough, based on research. And of course, in the book, they go through all the research and the theories about throughout the centuries, the Earth has done something to itself to maintain or to preserve itself. And it usually comes in the form of some sort of mass destruction of something that would wipe out a species or a bunch of species, so this therefore it can heal itself. And again, that's its own conspiracy in and of itself. But you know, we could be facing that with this weather situation, man-made or not. You know, whether we've created this situation or whether it's just nature taking its course. You never, you know, it's just something to think about.
Okay, Jeanette Pickering says, so can I ask, why doesn't the UK get tornadoes, cyclones, earthquakes and whatnot? Now, I will say the UK does actually get hurricanes. There was one off Cleethorpes Beach not long ago. It wasn't very powerful. Manchester has been hit by a tornado in the past, which wasn't very powerful, to be fair. And if anyone remembers back around 10 years, there was a fairly big earthquake in UK standards. And the epicentre was Market Raisin, and I was at the top of a block of flats in Grimsby. If anybody remembers the Freeman Street flats, if you're from round here, I know Eagle VP and Jay will. They're quite iconic. They've now been torn down anyway, real old. I was at the top of there when the earthquake went on, and yeah, I went running like barefoot down the stairwell. You know, I was 14 feet high, and the entire building was rocking from side to side. So the UK does in fact get tornadoes and earthquakes, but, you know, not in any sort of major way, like, say, Japan has earthquakes. But I think with earthquakes, it's more about fault lines more than weather weapons and things like that. But tornadoes especially seem to be, in some way, directed or controlled. I mean, there's the thing like the perfect storm, isn't there? But, I mean, like you say, however many tornadoes it was within 2 days, sounds fairly incredible to me. It is. I can imagine it being like a scene out of the film 2012, if you ever saw that. You know, that apocalypse film, where there is just like the entire ground's falling in. You know, there's like volcanoes going off. You know, tornadoes, floods, all that lot. Yeah. So. Yeah, I think it's more to do with geographical location a lot of the time. And obviously natural disasters do occur, and I mean, you can't always point the finger. But a lot of people have attributed, you know, like Hurricane Katrina and whatever, you know, that massive one that hit New Orleans and beyond, to sort of HARP projects and things like that. Now, a lot of people in the chat, I'm just going to have a quick read through these and see if there's anything I can, any questions I can fire off at the guests. Ivy Areno, I hope I've pronounced your name right. So Holland is exempted from HARP. We do have chemtrails, but we're ever so green. We're like Kevin in here still. PM's Adventure Vlog says the noises are around the world for sure, and they have legitimate proof of the noises. Now this is, I think this might be related or not. There is a lot of locations around the world reporting very loud bangs and humming noises, which do go on for quite a long time. No one can explain where these noises are coming from, but they are coming from what seems to be the sky. Interactive DNA, there is a bit of chat to get through. I'm just going to reel off the most important ones. Reality is Earth had billions of years to be what it is today. Humans will soon be overcome by nature. Unless humans explore space for a new home, we will end up like the dinosaurs. Now, overpopulation is another sort of hot topic, and I think there is agendas underway to actually either control or reduce the world's human population. Let's have a quick look through. Walking into the unknown with Jay says Mars is where we're going. I think, you know, there's another conspiracy that people are already there and the moon, but we'll cover that as we go along. I think. Yeah, there we go. X-Files. We're getting a lot of thingy. Look, yeah. Equinox Photography Bristol UK says we do get them, just not on the same scale as the rest of the world. Yeah. That's cool. 2.2 earthquake in Market Raisin. Yeah, that was about 8 or 10 years ago. Yeah, maybe a bit longer. Yep. Just reading through. Yep. Interactive DNA says I've already told NASA Tech we need a true AGI that can guide us to explore space. Human race will continue beyond Earth. I think exploring space and getting out to other planets, colonizing, is basically the only way that humans are going to survive. At the minute, official story that nobody lives on any other planets or anything like that. It is sort of like all eggs in one basket. One asteroid can end it all, basically. Okay. Hello, White Rose. Hell's House Paranormal. I hope you're well. Now, Hell's House Paranormal have an interesting channel. They set cameras up all around their house and just leave them on basically 24/7. Great community in there. Always chat going on.
Well, we love Hell House.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Nice. Canadian Drone Hub's in here. Hello, Roger. Thanks for having me on the panel yesterday, mate. Much appreciated. And like you've said, you know, whenever I've got the time, I am, you know, I would be honoured to come back on, mate. You're such an awesome dude. If nobody's subscribed to the Canadian Drone Hub, I'm telling you right now, please do it. The community there is brilliant. This is how I've met Centroid. Eagle VP featured me on his channel. Canadian Drone Hub commented on my videos. I've never looked back. The amount of support and good advice you get from Roger and his crew at Canadian Drone Hub, you know, live streams every day. I can't thank him enough. Okay, I'm going to stop, you know, sucking up to Canadian Drone Hub now for a little bit. Okay, I just thought I'd shout him out because he is awesome, and I think whoever's met him or subscribed to him or been in his live streams can all agree. Okay, yeah, hello, Random Life Productions. I hope you're well. Yeah, I'm not going to discuss the reptile Build-A-Bear conspiracies. Why not? Why not, mate? Let's have it. That's what we're here for.
Lord.
Yeah. Okay, Yorkshire Drone Seekers. Great to see you. I hope you're doing well there. That's cool. Evening. People wearing sunglasses indoors. I think Rick Lewis just can't seem to get over it. If I see 3 comments you know, people who want to see me take the sunglasses off, I'll do it. But for now, I'm quite enjoying it, to be fair. We have a distinct hum in some parts of Bristol, says Equinox Photography Bristol. I'm guessing that I mean sort of unidentified. Yeah. Yeah, like that movie with Will Smith, After Earth, where the world evolves to kill humans. There's a lot of films that sort of cover that. I think The Happening does it as well, where the plants start turning against humans and they're releasing like pheromones into the air, which turns people homicidal and suicidal, basically. Yeah, everyone's saying hello to the Canadian Drone Hub. Johnson Ibas, great to see you, mate. He says Roger is the 142nd fastest host in the north. I don't know. There is a few laughs about that. Abandoned City Camo Crew has got lizard eyes on. Yeah, that's the reason why, man. I'm one of the lizard people. You know what I mean? Start a new conspiracy theory all of its own, like. That's good. Yeah, not needed. Yeah, if Rick Lewis can garner support, if 2 more people want me to take the sunglasses off, I will. Yeah, Abandoned City Camo Crew is say it could happen if nature turned on us. PD Tech saying hello, Roger. Right, that's all good. Any final thoughts? I'm going to throw this out to anyone. Any final thoughts on chemtrails, weather control, and you know anything of that nature that we've just been discussing before we move on? Anybody want to chip in?
No, I think we're pretty.
No, are we all good? Has that been covered in a fairly comprehensive sort of way? Okay, right. We'll move on then. Okay, right. I do have like a very loose list in the background. Okay, and I'm just gonna pluck this one out the air. The conspiracy theory that Prince Charles is a vampire.
Okay, I'm out.
Right.
I'm out. I have nothing.
I mean, this is gonna get random. You know, I've got a list here. Right. Yeah. Okay. So, here's a couple of key points. According to records of Prince Charles' lineage, is believed to descend from Vlad the Impaler. Right. The inspiration, obviously, for Dracula. Blah blah blah. The prince can trace lineage back through his great-grandmother, Queen Mary, and half-brother of the ruler, Vlad the Impaler, okay? Yeah, the heir to the throne appeared on a promotional video for Romanian National Tourist Office joking, Transylvania is in my blood. Okay, just follow me on this. You know, the links to him being a vampire are fairly tenuous. In 2007... it's reported that Charles had been offered the horrific title of Prince of Transylvania because of his links to the region and whatnot. And obviously all that's proved fairly good for conspiracy theorists, you know what I mean, who believe, you know, a lot of the royal family is either shape-shifting reptilian alien hybrids or vampires. Yeah. One of the reasons it carries weight is because the disease porphyria is present amongst the royals, and that's an iron deficiency disease that makes the skin sensitive to sunlight. That's the key points. I mean, I am going to be plucking out some pretty bizarre conspiracy theories that I've sort of got together here. So I'm going to put that one to B-Town Paranormal, and I'm gonna phrase this in such a way, and I know this is going to go straight into the reptilian hybrids thing. Do you think, in any capacity, that Prince Charles or any other member of the British royal family is either a vampire or an alien reptilian shape-shifting hybrid?
I mean, in his defense, if you look at his photos and you look at a Dracula photo, it's not. I couldn't say. You know, it's kind of spot on in a way.
Vlad the Impaler was not a vampire. He wasn't a vampire. He impaled people, but. The only thing I could say that could tie into any of this is the queen may be of a little bit, you know, questionable because she's rather old and she's still kicking, you know. she's probably going to be like Betty White. She's going to outlive us all.
Yeah. Okay. Mark, do you want to chip in on any of this? Vampires or alien shape-shifting reptilian hybrids?
Well, I don't know much about the whole shape-shifting reptilian thing, and as far as the vampire thing, I guess you'd have to define what a vampire is. Are we talking the classic Hollywood vampire, or are we talking I guess from what I understand that if you can sample blood of whether it's humans or animals to get some sort of iron or some sort of nutrients. I mean, let's face it, it's used in recipes to today. But I personally going out biting somebody's neck the way you would see in the movies, I'm going to have to be a negative on that one. I mean, whether or not he samples blood, drinks blood, for nutritional purposes, heck, there are people who drink their own urine for crying out loud. So I have no idea.
Yeah. PD Tech says, how can he walk in daylight, though? Well, I don't know. Maybe they've got some sort of, like, special cream.
High-test sunblock.
Dennis, what's your thoughts, man? Royal family, specifically, Prince Charles and any other member of the royal family, vampires. And secondly... and I like saying this: alien shape-shifting reptilian hybrids.
I'd definitely say the vampires. I mean, he's got some big ass ears, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's easy.
Yeah.
Hey, mother, get me my clothes.
Point.
You know the cartoons when they shrink up and they fly away. When he shrinks up and he's got his ears, he flies away. He's got to be.
There you go.
Definitely. But yeah,
okay. I'm a con.
Okay, now, whenever you mention this, the shape-shifting reptilian alien hybrid thing, essentially people do go a bit wild, don't they? Everyone's got their own opinions on this, and I was sort of hoping it would transition into that conversation. So thanks for all making it possible. Basically, I'm just going to go through the chat because there's been some quite good ones and quite funny ones. They all go back to the Egyptians, says Abandoned City Camo Crew. That is possibly true. All royal family goes back to Egyptians pyramid times. That's good. Missing Persons is back. There we go. Equinox Photography Bristol UK says they're not normal people. Interactive DNA says I thought he was a drag queen. Damn it. Okay.
Drag queen, Dragula, close enough.
Craggs is in the chat. Great to see you, mate. I believe Craggs is at work tonight. Is one of my cronies, part of the Aerial Views crew, an honorary member. So if you see him in the chat, just up there a bit, make sure you check out his channel. He does videos from the club where I work, the Yardbirds Rock Club. Does great videos. PM's Adventure Vlog says the Royals are immortal. Missing Person says the Queen doesn't have a soul. Okay. Well, I mean, if it depends on the definition of the soul, doesn't it? I mean, do I have to keep saying it? Alien, reptilian, shape-shifting hybrids generally wouldn't have a soul as we define it, to be fair. PM's Adventure says he is an awful person, though. White Rose Adventure's got a good one. The royal family of vampires and Twinkle in the Sunlight, they killed Diana because she's a werewolf. Okay, so that's a new one. Walking into the Unknown with Jay says aliens found years ago in Antarctica. Virus found in the black oil makes humans lizard aliens. Shadow government are all lizard aliens. Okay. Thanks for chipping in, Jay. You are great in the chat today. You are on fire. Johnson Ibas says it's 2019. Reptilians are really easy to catch and many great recipes for cooking. Okay. Good luck getting your hands on the royal family, though. Yorkshire Drone Seekers, there must be as they suck the country dry. Oh dear, you know that's all right, isn't it? Crikey.
Okay, this
we're
did turn
gonna
political,
get
didn't it?
beheaded. I'm gonna be lynched tomorrow. I'm not kidding. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have the black suits showing up tomorrow. Missing persons and mysteries says, have you guys heard about the Queen and the missing orphans? And I will tell you, no, I actually haven't. Please go into a bit more detail in the chat, mate, and I'm more than happy to have a little chat with you. You know, Random Life Productions says the shapeshifters lived on the moon before coming to Earth. The moon is a very difficult one as it is without adding alien, reptilian, shape-shifting hybrids into the mix. Okay, Craig's...
Gotta say, you say that very well.
Thanks, yeah. It is a bit of a tongue twister. Just real quick, Mark, try and reel that off as quick as you can.
You say it one more time for me?
Alien, reptilian, shape-shifting hybrids.
Alien, reptilian, shape-shifting hybrids. You're right, it's a tough one.
Anyone else want to go?
Might swear on your lives by accident.
Okay, Johnson Ibas, missing persons and mysteries. I can't find anything or anyone. Hit me back. Fair enough. That's between you two there. Missing persons and mysteries says Queen Elizabeth's outstanding arrest warrant. After nearly a year of litigation, Queen Elizabeth and her husband Prince Philip were found guilty. Now the thing is, there is sort of that rule, isn't there, that the royal family can't actually be tried in court in the UK. Don't need a passport either. They can literally go wherever they want, which is funny in itself. Because at the end of the day, obviously, in a British passport, it actually says, you know, I think it's something like I give the permission, you know, the bearer to, you know, free and hassle-free, like crossing of borders and stuff. I could grab my passport; it's right there, but that's for another conversation. There, I'm nearly through the chat, and then we'll all get talking again. Interactive DNA. I believe humans were placed here on Earth, animals, etc., and we are just seeds of a generation ahead of us. Look at all races in the world and how language came to be, a pre-coded animal kingdom. Possibly. PM's Adventure Vlogs asks, I'm guessing you're asking missing persons and mysteries. Did the Queen eat the orphans? Now,
good one, Hal. Nice.
Now, good question. I'm going to leave missing persons to answer that. Okay, right. Are we moving on more towards the alien, reptilian, shape-shifting hybrids? I'm making a point of just trying to say that as quick as I can now. Right, now, okay. This theory has been quite popular, but made sort of mainstream by the British celebrity David Icke, sometimes pronounced David Icke, spelled I-C-K-E, who reported on this and has done numerous books over the course of about 15-20 years, I believe, covering how secret societies of Earth are all these reptilian types, and they just basically can shapeshift and they take up government positions, and there is ones behind the metaphorical curtain as well. Now, I'll post this one to Dennis then, and then I'll go through B-Time.
Sorry, I was catching up on the. I was just looking at the chat. Sorry about that. I missed the first part. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, no, that's completely fine, mate.
Sorry, mate.
Do you think that there is some sort of reptilian sort of group or sort of cabal, as it were, behind the scenes, planting their own sort of species into positions of power, specifically in the media, world government, and military positions, to control people and further their own agendas? What do you reckon?
When you say reptilian, you sound like sort of like lizard people and like proper lizards, or are you just on about aliens?
Oh no, alien, reptilian, shape-shifting hybrids.
That
is the last time I'm going to say it, honestly.
I'd say yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, who was? I forget her name. I do apologize. What was the lady that was running for power with Trump? What was her name? Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that. I mean, you see all the you see all the things that she's done on stage and messed up, and her face goes all funny and things like that. So yeah, I think they do. Yeah, definitely.
It looks like Brad from B-Town Paranormal has finally had to tap out. He's probably got a bit of a sweat on. And don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? My brain is cooking, right? I reckon I'm going to have to take mine off soon. On previous streams, I have had to take it off because it has got to a point where I felt dizzy, right?
For a minute.
So, yeah, go on, mate. Let's explain the sensation of wearing a tinfoil hat for hour and a half straight. It definitely needs ventilation. Mark's got a good idea wearing it over his headphones, so there is a little bit of breathability to it.
Well, I got to admit, I was a little leery about wearing it, but I'm actually growing into it quite nicely. I might wear it into class tomorrow, see what happens.
Armed with
Take
all
some
the
selfies and
topics
post
and
them up.
information, you know what I mean, that you could want to just blow their minds.
Oh, I always keep them guessing. This would definitely throw them for a loop. So I actually might bring it in tomorrow. I'm not joking.
Yeah, nice.
If I do, I'll have one of my students take a picture just to prove it to you.
do an entire class on how to make a really good tinfoil hat. That'll go down a storm, honestly.
Oh, we can do the volumes. We can do all kinds of stuff with these things. So, yeah, I can work it in. Trust me, I can work just about anything in.
Wow. B-Town, that looked really cool. It was just like they just
that was a hell of a
there. So what do you reckon then, B-Town? Let's get slightly back on topic. Do you think that there is like a cabal of these reptilians behind the scenes planting their own sort of shapeshifters into positions of power and then controlling the human psyche, media, world events, and favouring their own agenda? Do you reckon any of that's true, or?
I don't want to say yes, but then again, you can't deny Hillary Clinton. You can't. You can't.
Now there is sort of quite tenuous video evidence of some of these people, with. Dude, you actually freaked me out for a second there.
Yeah.
What was going on?
Yeah, I think he's shape-shifting as we speak.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've seen videos on YouTube of Hillary Clinton, and there's one in particular that I've talked about. It was during one of her like pre-presidential speeches campaigns, and she blinked. And somebody had slowed it down, and you could see, like she blinked once, and then you could see the same eye, like I don't know how like a reptile,
like a second set of eyelids.
Yeah, that's what it looked like. It looked like it closed one eyelid, and then there was a secondary eyelid on the inside. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean.
Yeah.
Something is wrong. Something is wrong.
Yeah, yeah. What do you reckon, Mark? Do you reckon there is some sort of reptilian secret society planting their own members into positions of power?
I never really gave it much thought. I hate to get all academic, but if you go back and you compare the two theories of evolution, you had Darwin and you had a guy by the name of Lamarck. Darwin said that it was by chance that the species had the right gene to pass on to its offspring in order for it to survive, where Lamarck said that there was a sort of encoding that occurred, that they purposely changed certain aspects of the genes to then pass it down to their children or their offspring. Of course, that change would take centuries for it to take hold, so that would be a slow version of what you're talking about. So I guess if anybody believes in that, then I guess one could say that we could speed it up if need be. I don't know, but I guess it's somewhat plausible. Never really thought about it, and I'm not going to say it online again, I'll tell you that.
Okay, let's move on to Mark Zuckerberg really quick, because his name is being brought up in the chat. Walking into the Unknown with Jay says Mark Zuckerberg is a robot. Now, there was many people claiming during there was that sort of media conference, wasn't there, where essentially, you know, he was sat there completely emotionless as he was reeling off some of his topics. And what do you guys reckon? I'll start with Dennis again. Do you reckon Mark Zuckerberg's a robot or one of these reptiles?
No, I don't know who he is, to be honest. But I can imagine he's one of them. But yeah, you have to go on to someone else with that one. I don't know who he is.
I'm taking off the tinfoil hat because I am roasting. The heating's on and my brain is cooking, man. I'm going to give it a few minutes, wait for this to dry out, and then I'm going to put it back on once my head's had a bit of time to breathe. So B-Town, what do you reckon? Mark Zuckerberg, robot, reptilian, or human?
Have you ever heard of him?
No.
I've never heard of him.
Is the guy who invented Facebook.
Oh no, you know, no.
Yeah. Oh, I thought his name was well known enough. I should have clarified that.
You should have said guy who invented Facebook.
Yeah. Okay. What do you reckon, B-Town?
He's about as robotic as Tom, the inventor of MySpace. Like, you never see them. Like, they're just... they can't be human. I swear they can't be human.
Mm.
They don't look human.
So,
they don't act human.
What do you reckon, Mark Zuckerberg?
Okay, so I'm gonna diverge from the whole conspiracy thing and play all educator here now. I definitely think, based on his interviews I've seen him do, that socially he's pretty awkward. So I'm gonna attribute that more to being on the spectrum. We're talking Asperger's more than anything else. I don't think that that's a robotic thing. I think that's just a natural affliction that he's got. So based on what I've seen and what I know about the people who have Asperger's, so I'd have to say no. I'm going to go with no on the robot thing.
Well, White Rose Adventures has just put in the chat, Mark Zuckerberg is human, maybe autistic. That's why he's robotic, which is corroborating.
Okay.
To your point there.
Oh. Thank you, White Rose.
Yeah, that's it. Abandoned City Camo Crew says here's a patsy for the NWO. That is out of nowhere. And that's what I like. Keep up the good work in the chat. That's all cool. Random Life says it's an interesting subject, but I'm off to bed. I did write in the chat. Good night, mate. All the best. Thanks for popping in. Everybody who's in the chat and watching right now, and my guests, much appreciated for joining me tonight. And these are topics that I love talking about. I don't necessarily believe them, but I like talking about them. Okay. Imagine Acre Wood. Great to see you. How is everyone? Fly your UFO in my space, and I'll fly mine in yours. Okay. That's, live long and prosper. You know what I mean? That's all good.
I like what White Rose has put. He's Skynet. I think he is. I think he's Skynet walking around, see what's going on. I think.
Never know.
Loving it. Missing Person says, "Don't take it off." I think he means the hat. That's what they want. Yeah. Well, just for a minute, I'm hoping that the residual energy is gonna keep out them mind waves for now. Walking into the Unknown with Jay says Mick Jagger is definitely alien, so they definitely exist. Now, Mick Jagger is a bit of an anomaly, to be fair.
Yes.
I don't know. Is most probably a reptile, to be fair.
More so Keith Richards, I would say.
I mean, hell, he has got fairly leathery skin, to be fair.
What?
Christ.
White has to be aliens or some form of non-living species.
Yeah.
No, like 98 years old and still parties like 20.
Yeah, and I remember seeing a meme about something like when his daughters pass away, he's going to inherit their fortune or something. Abandoned City Camo Crew says the RAF UK Air Force owns Skynet. Okay, that is very interesting. Would you like to elaborate a little bit on that? And then White Rose says, sorry, Matt Smith is Skynet, my mistake. Walking into the Unknown with Jay says Skynet is real. It's in Caution. I believe that's RAF Caution. We are going into Skynet, aren't we? Okay, I'm just going to take a sip of my drink. Does anybody know anything about Skynet and cover me while I have a sip of my drink?
I do not.
Not that only that's a reference to the old Terminator movies that I can think of.
It's a very similar concept. It's a very similar concept. regarding AI and using technologies basically to try and enslave populations and whatnot, as seen in the Terminator film. What do you reckon, Dennis? Do you reckon the Skynet link or the Skynet sort of conspiracy is real? I mean, a lot of people in the chat are referencing it. I just want to hear your thoughts for a minute while I kick back and take a sip of my drink and let you do my work for me.
I think it is. I think it's you've got to come from somewhere. I mean, like it says, if nowadays, if you can think about it, the technology can do it. And if you see something like Terminator with this, this robot with a human skin over it, and can you imagine that's trying to be done already? I think it's a real thing, and I think with the films, they're trying to give it to us slowly, but in a film, so we sort of get to know what it is, and then when it actually hits us, we know what it is for real. But I don't think you'll see any Arnold Schwarzeneggers running around, but I think it's going to be something like something higher than that.
Right, Yorkshire Drone Seekers has just put Mick Jagger's just weathered, not leathery. Okay, yeah, he has been around the block. What do you reckon? What do you reckon, B-Town Paranormal, about Skynet? Have you ever seen the film Terminator?
I have.
Yeah. Do you reckon that AI and robots, in that way, there is some sort of agenda to push forward AI and robots in a way to potentially either better humanity or enslave it? Do you reckon there's any truth to that?
I mean, it could be. I mean, who knows? I definitely would say it wouldn't be to help the human race, because all of the proven factors show that there's constant proof of people trying to destroy the human race. I don't think it would be good. I mean, but I guess a surefire way to find out, hold on, quit, is you have suspicion of one being a robot, walk up and hit it, punch someone in the face, and if it really hurts, then maybe.
So, Mark, I'll pass it over then. What do you reckon, mate?
I definitely think that's plausible. I have my own views on AI, as outrageous as they may be. I think that if we haven't developed it yet, when it does get developed, it'll definitely have some sort of biological component to it to truly interact with the environment, so that it can do its thinking and adapt to its surroundings, as opposed to just pure digital thought. So I think it's possible. I mean, the whole idea of skin over a metal robot that actually can sense, feel, as opposed to just these microsensors. I mean, a true biological, even in the brain capacity, it might have a biological. Think of it as for lack of a better description, a creature having what would look like a human brain, but is being filled electronically. I think it's possible. It may have already been done. It's definitely plausible.
Okay. Well, we're getting a lot of interesting input in the chat. I'm just going to reel some of that off. Abandoned City Camo Crew says, yes, it's the same as Terminator, it would. It's worldwide satellite link network, and then Google it, followed shortly after, should I say. Walking into the Unknown with Jay says, find Skynet Drive in Corsham. I believe he means RAF Corsham there. It's run by Boeing. Abandoned City Camo Crew, Cyberdyne is a real company too. Okay, White Rose Adventure says, where I live there's a spy base called Menwith Hill, run by the US government, mainland radar, lots of conspiracy theories about it. I got moved by armed police for getting close to the fence. Abandoned City comes back in, Google that now, part of Boston Dynamics and DARPA. Now DARPA is a very strange company as well. I think it's Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, I believe. A lot of top secret technology developed there and whatnot, it wouldn't surprise me if they're working in conjunction with other top secret research programs. Abandoned City Camo Crew says Burlington Bunkers, Corsham, Rudlow Manor, one of out Area 51s. I'm not entirely sure. Walking into the Unknown with Jay, all of Corsham has 26 miles of underground tunnels, where CCDN is the CCC, and RAF Corsham and Skynet all in one town. Controls the Trident missiles too. Okay. Interactive DNA, it is the AGI that makes things run. We are already in the Skynet by using our phones daily. We're already connected in a way. Kim Discovery History is now supporting this awesome channel, White Rose. So you've got yourself a new sub there, White Rose. Spot on, mate. Star Wars is its other name, says Abandoned City Camo Crew. Okay. Abandoned City comes in. Neat. World War III will be an AI war. Now, there is already major steps being taken to completely mechanise warfare without humans being directly involved in the combat, but whenever it comes to any sort of war, as soon as the machines fail, the humans will have to come in and have a go. Okay, I'm just reeling through because the chat is moving fast and everyone's making really good points. Sandra, two-dimensional paranormal investigator. Hello, Aerial Views and Histories UK. Great to see you. Great to see you. Honestly, everybody in here, I'm so happy. I really am that you're in here. Okay. Let's have a quick look at this. That's cool. Just looking. Abandoned City Camo Crew. Yes, Jay, you're right. Also moved to another site. I think they're talking about Corsham and all the other thingies. Google, DeepMind and others alike, they're all dumb running applications, but we're getting close in creating a real one. I think he means Skynet. Abandoned City Camo Crew. Jay, you've got to come with us and do the Burlington and Rudlow. Is that a type of dance? Or no, I'm only kidding. I think it does mean a secret location of some sort. I think Skynet is in Menwith Hill. It's joint ops between the US and the UK. Officially supposed to be something about communications, but who knows what they do. Unknown. I mean, we have covered. I think AI gets covered in pretty much every tinfoil hat live stream I do, but sort of fast advancing, sort of deep learning AI is seen as the future and possible demise of the human race. Does anybody want to chip into that? I'll start with Mark this time. What do you reckon about AI then, mate? Because obviously if we're talking about Skynet, we're talking about possible robots or machines with superior intelligence to humans.
Let me start off by, I have to apologize to Design and More, Anas Banarbi. I accidentally hid one of their comments. I was trying to look at somebody's channel, and this thing's going quickly, so I already chatted with them, and I hope they're not too upset. So I want to start off by apologizing to them for hiding whatever comment they had.
Okay.
But as far as
is there any way of unhiding them? Do you know?
I don't know. I've never done that before to somebody.
Yeah,
so
I think it might have just been that one comment. I can't see any particular way. Please, Design and More. Please try and chat in the comments. Apparently it was a mistake, mate. A slip of the finger. Please don't take it personal. You ain't done out wrong. I ain't seen you do out wrong. No problems with you. So just give it a try, and bit of peace of mind for me anyway.
Yeah, I can't see any way for me to unhide them, so I have to. They may have been timed out, so I really apologize to them.
Yeah, please stick with us. It's a complete mistake. We're happy to admit mistakes. And whatnot. Yeah, sorry,
this
Matt.
chat is flying by.
It is, and some of it's really long and in depth, so I am trying to cover that and keep a good conversation going with everybody. So we will cover AI real quick then, because I do have a few other quite bizarre and outlandish conspiracy theories to cover. Do you reckon there is an agenda, Matt?
Oh yeah, I think AI is definitely a way to go. I think that they're always dabbling with it. In fact, I was starting to mess with it when I was in college too, but I never pursued it. But I think that it's always a constant look. I mean, you look at all just the machines from a pure thinking standpoint that are now beating world class chess champions and whatnot. It's out there. It's just like I said, how it's going to look to everybody else when we're trying to when it finally meets the street. And I do see that Design and More is still
just been unhidden.
Unhidden. Yeah, so it was probably
back
just
with
a
us,
timeout.
Design and More.
Yeah,
great to see you back. Okay, apologies.
Yeah.
Everything's
So-
right again. Okay.
Yeah, so I reckon it's definitely plausible. No, I think it's definitely there, and I don't know how they plan on using it, but I have to agree with Interactive. It's out there now. I mean, it's collecting data on all of us as we're using everything technological, and again, it's going to go into anything and everything. I mean, it kind of is there now when you think about what Amazon does and what Facebook does as far as linking and looking at what it is you're watching and feeding you the topics and the items and merchandise that pertains to what it is you keep searching. So it's thinking and it's guiding you in a direction to keep buying. So yeah, I definitely think it's already being used on us, not in a robotic sense, but definitely on the internet.
Look at that. We've got an entire family of tinfoil hatters in the top right.
Oh, I gotta bring my dogs
B-Town
in
is
now.
going all out on the tinfoil hats.
Oh Lord, I gotta get my dogs in here with tinfoil hats on now.
I tell you what,
Yeah.
towards the end of the
Safe.
stream, I'll shout out my Twitter page, my Twitter handle, whatever. I've got 1 follower so far. Feel free to dive on it. I'm going to put that in the chat now, actually. Let me just look up my Twitter handle, because I think next tinfoil hat stream, it'd be a good idea. Everybody make their own crazy tinfoil hat, and then send it to me on Twitter, and I'll feature the best ones on the next stream. Because the tinfoil hat thing, I mean, you have really inspired me with yours, Mark. That is really out there. You know, and come
I had
up
no idea
with a
what you
good
guys were
title
gonna wear,
for it as
so I
well.
had to do something.
Really ornate, if you can. You know?
I mentioned it to B-Town. It was actually a very poor attempt at trying to mimic my logo on my head, and this is what it turned into.
Is that one piece?
Oh no! No!
Or is that?
No.
Oh, that's like you've managed to mesh that together out of multiple pieces.
One big blob. Sure,
I was thinking
sure.
you did it out of one piece. I was thinking, man,
No,
you should be
I'm
like
not that good.
origami expert or something.
No, I'm not that.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to put my Twitter handle in the chat. Please go and follow that at views_UK. That's it. Follow me on Twitter, and next stream, I'll ask you all, at some point, either prepare a tinfoil hat for next Sunday or make one during the stream, and I'll host a competition. Okay, so whoever wins the competition will get like regular shout outs for the channel. Okay, does that sound like a good deal?
Accepted.
I think that sounds like a good
Good
deal.
deal.
Yeah, that applies to
deal.
guests as well, by the way. So
I do apologise. I have no
Dennis has the
tinfoil in
chance
house,
to come in
you know.
late for the clutch on this one with a really good tinfoil hat. Okay, right. Let's get back on topic then. So B-Town Paranormal, deep learning AI and putting that into machines to potentially better humanity or destroy it if it goes haywire. What do you reckon? Just throw in some of your thoughts on that.
I mean, the whole AI issue, I mean, it's very well possible. I mean, coming from a standpoint, drones, for example, they have drones now that a human doesn't even have to fly them. They can, you can sit there and punch in a location on a drone, and it'll go exactly right where you want it to go. I mean, they got technology like that, and they got cars that will literally drive themselves.
Yeah, I guess it's all down to whoever it falls in whose hands. Like, whoever hands it is in is whether it will determine catastrophic or, better,
Yeah, now there is something called Asimov's laws of robotics, if you've ever heard of that. That is the rules of AI and robots, basically. Do you know them off by heart, Mark? I do have a basic understanding. I just don't know how to perfectly quote them, but it goes something like this. Essentially, the robot can't harm itself. The robot can't harm humans, and then the robot will only harm itself if it's going to stop a human from being harmed. It's something along the lines of that. Now, if AI is deep learning, it could eventually realise that why am I doing that? I shouldn't need to do that, and people are inferior. Why would I do that? What do you reckon, Dennis? Do you reckon that could become a possibility with advanced AI?
Definitely, because obviously we program something, and then obviously I think with the AI and the technology nowadays, we will program it to do what it needs to do. It will do what it needs to do, but I think with all computers now, they start to think for themselves, and they will start to think, like you said, why am I doing this? Why should I harm myself if the human wants to harm itself? Or if I need to harm a human because of, it's trying to break me down or something like that. Yeah, it will learn to defend itself. It will kill something that's trying to kill it, like we would. And I think it will, like with what Mark was saying, it is there, it is controlling, and like it could be watching me now on this stream. It could be doing anything, but it does. I see something on the internet where, like Mark was saying, you type things in, you search, and your computer gets to know what you need, or the AI gets to know what you're searching and things like that. But there was a thing where someone was actually talking about what they wanted to search in front of the computer to prove a point. He was just talking, and then he went on to Google and think, and what he was talking about actually popped up as an advert. He was talking about trainers, and then trainers would come up, and then it'd come back off. He'd talk about cars, and then an advert for cars would come up. He wouldn't type it in; he would just talk about it, and then it would pop up on the screen. So it's already there watching us and listening. So, yeah, it is learning.
Yeah, okay. Anybody else? Any final thoughts? Want to add anything in, or anything else because I'm more than happy to move on now to the next topic, unless.
Well, I just figured I looked it up real quick just to quote the laws. First law was a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. Robot must obey the laws given to a human being except where such orders would conflict with the first. And most importantly, number 3, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first and second law. So they kind of loop in on themselves. It's kind of a brilliant thought, I think.
Yeah.
Whether or not people program them into AI is a different story.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cheers for looking that up, mate. I sort of got the gist of it the way I paraphrased it.
Yeah, you did very well.
Without a direct quote on that.
Yeah.
So just before we started the stream, I was setting up OBS and we was having a little natter. Now, B-Town brought up, and we're completely moving on again, just completely jackknifing into the next thing. Wanted to talk about JFK and the assassination. Do you want me to reel off a couple of fact tidbits before we carry on, or do you want to go straight in with it?
I mean, if you got some tidbits about it, go ahead. Let's hear them.
Okay. November '63. John F. Kennedy assassinated in Dallas, Texas, by a shooter known as Lee Harvey Oswald. This is official story. Former US Marine who defected to the Soviet Union before returning to the US. He was accused of shooting JFK. He shot multiple bullets and one hit JFK in the head. Other people were injured and whatnot. Lee Harvey Oswald was killed. He was assassinated himself before he could stand trial. But the conspiracy theory goes that he was potentially just a scapegoat. No official investigations have turned up evidence of a conspiracy, but theories implicate everyone from the KGB to Jackie Kennedy and several others. Okay, there we go. There's the main gist of it anyway. Do you want to add in a bit more, B-Town, or do you want me to pass it on?
Yeah, it is said that Oswald was a scapegoat because the whole issue surrounding his death was JFK did not succumb to what the government wanted him to do, and they got subjected to his death. And that brings me to, I think when anyone is elected president, they are set down in a chair, They're read what is going to happen, how they're going to react, and what they're going to do. And if you don't do it, we'll kill you. I mean, JFK was a good example of that. I mean, his death came out of nowhere, and I think the blame was on Oswald. There is no substantial proof, but it is a rumor buzzing around that it was, in fact, a conspiracy that the government wiped him out themselves because I can't talk. They did not like that he was not agreeing with what they wanted to do, with what was going on at the current time.
Which involved the space race and attempting to end the Vietnam War, if I'm not mistaken, because he was very anti-war. And he was a very popular president with the people, but obviously not with a lot of people behind the scenes, just because he was quite outspoken in what he was going to do. And he was sort of like the people's president, wasn't he? He was held in quite high regard. What do you reckon, Mark? Do you reckon he was shot by Lee Harvey Oswald, or do you think there was another gunman? Or do you believe, I've heard a possible theory of shellfish toxin as well, if you've ever heard of that theory.
Well, I mean, I've never seen the movie, but I think it's Oliver Stone did his version of the whole conspiracy, which kind of supports what you're saying as far as what people have said. I think, number one, that I think Lee Harvey Oswald was trained well enough to be a sniper to do that. Whether or not he's the one who actually pulled the trigger, I don't know. There's that whole theory about the grassy knoll, a second gunman, blah, blah, blah. And hopefully I got my facts straight. I mean, he was I don't want to get political, otherwise the black coats will show up in my house. But I do believe he was a Democrat, and he had views that the Republicans weren't happy about. So is it possible that he was off by the government? I would say that's an absolute possibility. And the fact that they really didn't pursue it, and the fact that Lee Harvey Oswald was assassinated the way he was right before trial, or before he could be put to trial, I definitely think it could have definitely been a cover-up. I mean, if it was indeed that, they picked the right guy for scapegoat, because if I'm not mistaken, like I said, Lee Harvey Oswald did have the training to be able to do that kind of shooting, and so it could have very well been a setup. But again, they never pursued it and never looked into it, and they kind of brushed it off as they got the right guy, and oops, he got killed before trial. We'll never know, and it went into history as such.
And I believe he proclaimed his innocence from the start.
Oh yeah,
as well, didn't he?
from the very beginning.
Yeah. Dennis, what do you reckon, mate? JFK?
Yeah, I think they're obviously mirroring the both of them. They said that it was a bit quick how they caught the man who actually is supposed to have shot him. He was, or he died before he got to trial, because obviously he would have spilled the beans and things like that. Get rid of the evidence before it gets there. Yeah, I do think, because he was trying to change things and the government didn't like it, he was taken out for that reason. And the only way to do that was to set everything up as quick as it was. So, yeah, I think Lee Harvey Oswald wasn't the one. Like Mark said, he was trained, but they just kept him too quiet, away from the media. Like you said, he said he was innocent from the start. He always proclaimed his innocence, and then they got rid of him. So you'll never know. So.
Yeah, okay. I'm just going to read off some of the chat for a second. Abandoned City Camo Crew says, how can you fire bullets that fast at that angle? Now, this is a very controversial game, and it did get a lot of people's backs up. It was called JFK Reloaded, and a lot of people aren't going to like necessarily that I talk about this. It is controversial. I see about it on a YouTube show about like the most controversial games ever made. And essentially you play as the shooter of JFK in a complete reenactment of the motorcade. Everybody is where they should be. And essentially the rifle that he was supposed to use from the actual window in the book depository. And you literally have to try and recreate the shots that he did. And I tell you what, I played that for a fair bit, just trying to do it, and I found it near impossible to get them shots in. The likelihood of him landing them shots and the angles, because apparently some of the shots came off the way they did because they actually ricocheted. That's the official story, but I mean, the official story could have been manipulated in any way, couldn't it, really? Okay.
They did. Sorry, on just before you end that, they did say that there was a couple of shots, but they came from different angles.
Yeah, that's
so
where
how
the
can you shoot
bullet
from?
Came in.
How can you shoot from different angles from the same place? Yeah, that's what I heard. Yeah.
Okay, Missing Persons and Mysteries says JFK was definitely a set-up by our government. I think George Bush was involved. JFK wanted to eliminate the CIA, and George Bush was the director. I think he means George Bush Sr., not George Bush Jr., but they've both been presidents. Okay.
I think you had something to add in about it. I think you forgot.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut anybody off, but if you look at, they said that he was the unofficial shooter of JFK. But the thing that a lot of people don't realize is, yes, he was in the Marines, but they also sit there and said, though, too, the angle of that shot and as fast as the motorcade was going, for you to get that precise of a shot would only be from a trained sniper. And there were two shots. There were two shots that were fired, but the shot that he initially shot was not the one that actually killed JFK. And there was a report done that there were two bullet holes in the back of his head when he got shot. But the thing about it is, though, the secondary shot came from straight behind him. It hit him dead on. But the first initial shot was it came directly down, and it hit him almost right. I forget.
It hit him at a really sharp angle. I had to see the video in history class over and over and over. It slowed down even. It was just a very impossible shot, and some try to say that the two shots came from the same gun, which if that was a sniper, it does not. It is very. Those guns are not rapid fire, so you can't shoot and then shoot again.
Actually, they had a sniper. I forget who made it, but it was a semi-automatic.
It wasn't the gun used.
Right, it wasn't the gun that was used, but they did have a semi-automatic.
Yes, I get that.
I think it was a 30-06.
But the gun that was in question was not rapid fire.
And there's just a bunch of issues that surround that. The way when the first bullet hit the spray pattern, what could only possibly happen from the second shot coming from the back of the head out, and because his wife got most of the brain matter and sprayed on her. That's what they said, that most of when he got shot, his head blew out from the side, from the right, and it hit her. But that angle of that shot would have gone straight in and straight out. It wouldn't have blown out the side of his head and not really did a whole lot, because I've seen the actual photos that were linked on the internet.
I had to see the video. That video was gruesome, but it's just too random. It was just something that's way too random.
Okay, right. There is a lot of chat that I need to catch up on, and it is all very interesting. I'll be real swift with that. Missing Persons and Mysteries says, I have a list of conspiracy theories that are not that well known. I would love to share with you privately. Absolutely fine, mate. I'm going to put in my Google Hangouts name right now. And this isn't just for Missing Persons. This is for anybody who wants to add me on Google Hangouts. I'm always good for a chat. I mean, Centroid this morning. I said, then I was like, you know, do you want to chat? And that was just pure chance, mate. And then here we are. Look, we've become good friends. You know what I mean? I'm just going to put in my email address. So please, if you want to join me on Google Hangouts sometime, it's in inverted commas, but obviously that is my Google Hangouts handle. Please add me on there, missing persons, and we'll have a good chat sometime, mate. Okay. PM's Adventure Vlog says there's another shooter. White Rose comes up with I think the immortal Lizard Queen of the UK shot JFK. Now that is a far stretch, but don't rule it out. You know what I mean? Abandoned City, yeah, sorry, Jay. Too much researching over the years, or too much time on my hands. Right, tinfoil me, Jay. Okay. I heard JFK wanted to take down the NWO. That's it. Canadian Drone Hub has just left, but he said hit the like button. So if you haven't done already, you know what I mean. You got to do what Canadian Drone Hub says at very least. You know what I mean. Interactive DNA will never know the truth. Things are changing so fast that last century or any other century before will not matter for the next generation we are in. We are in the now generation, and history is history. Yeah, but through history, and then obviously with modern day techniques and analysis as years go on, I mean, cold cases can become solved over time. So it's always useful looking back through history at specific mysteries and possible conspiracy theories, and trying to work them out, you know. Droning about Northwest quite a while ago said, Mark, your tinfoil hat is awesome. It's not called the tinfoil hat, it's called the Kraken. Custom design. You know what I mean? That's it. He's going to be setting up his own merch store next, you know, with his range of custom tinfoil hats, you know. Okay, I'm just getting through these right now. Lever Guns 50 110 WCF is in. Great to see you again, mate. He does pretty much always drop into my live streams. Great to see you, mate. Really is. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's it. Just looking through. There are many documentaries that have very good evidence that there was a second shooter on the grassy knoll, says PM's Adventure. Vlogs, okay. Grassy knoll, even behind the white fence. That's cool. Yeah. Kim discovering history way past me bedtime. Wishing you all good health and have an awesome week. Same to you, Kim. Honestly, thank you for popping in. Everybody who's here, much appreciated. Please check out everybody's channels. If you like what you see, sub to them. Just let them know in the chat, you know, I've paid you a visit. Something like that. Or as iSpike says, I've jumped on the bus, which is obviously just subbed backwards, like, you know. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, PM's Adventure Vlog says, just to let everyone know, I'm big on Marilyn Monroe conspiracies. I don't know that much about them, to be fair, but my Google Hangouts username is in there, my email address as well. If you want to email me or get in touch on Google Hangouts, I'm always keen for a chat. Always, you know what I mean? It's all good. That's cool. Walking into the Unknown with Jay says, have you got whiskey, Dennis? Are you on whiskey?
It's apple juice. No, it's apple juice.
It's apple juice. I thought he was on neat whiskey. A whole half pint of it. Right?
Yeah, it's a big glass for that.
Yeah, Lever Guns says, a friend of mine who was in the Special Forces tried one of them guns and found it to be so inaccurate, so his brother bought another one, and they tried it out, and it was inaccurate also. Fair enough. Lever Guns, I'm guessing you know a lot more about guns than I do. I've never even held a real gun. I have got a bit of experience with crossbows and air rifles, but that's nothing, is it, compared to the real deal. Elegant Elliot often says, hey Dennis, how the heck are you, Paul? Oh, pal, sorry. I completely misread that. Yeah, sorry. Hey Dennis, how the hell are you, Paul? Pal, sorry, I'm getting that all wrong. Okay. DGN Films, haha, I wish Jay knows it's apple juice, okay. Interactive DNA, history will just be history. No one will see history as the main source of facts. We're in an age that will be impossible to tell the truth from history. Even live videos will be compromised. I'll have to disagree, unfortunately. a lot of historical cold cases have been solved with modern investigation techniques, but they're not as publicised as the event itself quite a lot of the time. So the myth remains, and then obviously the new information gets buried, which is always a shame. Okay, any final thoughts on JFK? I mean, I'm more than happy to stay on it if people have got things to add. And I did cut off B-Town a little bit. Does anybody have anything to add before we go on?
No, we can move on.
I do have a public service announcement for anybody who's going to chat with Aerial Views after this. He has no concept of bedtime, so keep that in mind.
Okay, yeah, that is true. That is true. Well, that's good. You know, I'm happy to chat with my American friends. You know, and if I have to sacrifice sleep for that, I will. Okay. Okay. Let's throw out another really random one. That Elvis still lives. Anybody heard of this one?
Yeah, he's hanging out with Jim Morrison right now, apparently, and all the other ones that have been killed.
Yeah, well, this one doesn't necessarily need to revolve around Elvis, but I will reel off a couple of the facts. Okay, Elvis Presley died 16th of August 1977. King of rock and roll, possibly faked his own death, and one of the theories is he now works as a groundsman in Graceland. Why he'd do that, I don't know. Grainy footage of a bearded man has been posted on YouTube who claims the figure
in plain sight.
Yeah, who claims the figure is an 81-year-old Elvis. It's been viewed 700,000 times. That's cool. That's it. Just looking through. While some say the claims are idiotic and Elvis should be left to rest in peace, the belief that Elvis is out there looks unlikely to fade away. And I believe that to be true. And we don't need to necessarily just focus on Elvis for this one. We're talking about more in the topic of celebrities or famous people who fake their own deaths for numerous reasons, right? We'll start with Dennis on this one, mate. What do you reckon? Is Elvis alive, and any other celebrities you might think have faked their own deaths?
I don't know if Elvis is alive. If he was. I mean, yeah, there is a conspiracy where the celebrities sort of fake their own deaths and they live on this special island, and you know they're all together. But you see a lot. I mean, I did see not long ago a picture of Bob Marley, and he was really old. And they said that they'd seen Bob Marley. He wasn't dead, and you know it really did look like him, but an older version. But you know, with pictures you can mess around with pictures, but you got Tupac, you got Bob Marley, you got
Michael
Elvis,
Jackson.
Michael Jackson. Yeah, I mean he was in a glass casket, but you couldn't really see if it was real or not.
No, but to be fair, in all respect to Michael Jackson, he did look a bit waxy, didn't he?
Yeah.
You could have easily made a cast of him, couldn't you?
Definitely, and but they say that they're either getting to debt, they're getting into too much trouble, they want rid of that life, and then they move on. I do think, I won't say I don't know if it happened to Elvis, but I do think a lot of them do that to get out of out the limelight, I mean they've had it all their lives, they've had enough. They just want to get, or they're in too much debt and they just want to get away. So they pay people to make it happen. I think, I think it does happen.
Yeah, well, I think Elvis is in the Guinness World Records for most #1 hits, I believe, released after death.
Exactly, and I think another point. Sorry to interrupt you, Steve, but when people die, they do tend to go high in the charts or to #1. A lot of things do sell, like records, merchandise of them. It does sell. So.
Okay, B-Town, what do you reckon? Does Elvis still live, or any other celebrities you think might have faked their own deaths?
I have a few. About the Elvis thing, I never thought about it until I was actually reading online a couple years ago, and it said that a body of a homeless man was found and he was resembled to Elvis, very, very like, and his dental record matched Elvis's in his DNA. Whether that's true or not, I'm not sure. But I do know that there's word going around that Michael Jackson faked his death. There's also one that Jean Benet Ramsey, she really didn't die. I don't know if y'all know of Jean Benet.
I don't. Do you want to just tell us about that real quick? 'Cause I don't know.
What happened to Jean Benet Ramsey was a terrible thing. She was a 6-year-old little girl. She was a beauty pageant queen in Colorado. She was killed in her home by someone that they don't know who. They still have not found the murderer. She was killed and strangled in her basement. They're saying that she is not dead. They said that it was a whole Illuminati cover-up, and she is actually Katy Perry. They're trying to say Jean Benet is Katy Perry. That I don't believe.
No, I have heard that one. Sorry, yeah. So I do sort of know what you're on about there.
I never heard that one myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, the resemblance is uncanny, to be fair. Yeah.
What happened to that poor little girl was atrocious.
Okay, well,
but
yeah, sorry, B-Town, carry on.
No, you're fine. Michael Jackson and God, I had him. I can't not think of they've been saying it in chat. Michael Jackson won fake their death. Yeah. Not Tupac.
Jim Morrison.
No, I'll think about it in a little bit.
Okay, Mark, I'll throw it to you then, mate. What do you reckon? Is Elvis alive? And then let's go a bit more into other celebrities and whatnot that we've just been talking about.
Well, I dare say that I'm old enough to actually remember when he died.
Yeah.
I was almost 10 years old when he died, and I remember watching a lot of his movies and listening to his music. My mother was a big fan of his. I do remember, and you all remember, the old Elvis versus the young Elvis and how unhealthy he looked. So it looked like he easily could have died. But I do have to say that whether he's still alive or continued to live after the reporting of his death, I don't know for sure. But I'd like to think that if I ever was in that situation and I had all that attention, that at some point I'd want to go off the grid. And I could see why people would want to fake their death, either for debt reasons or just for the sheer fact they want to be left alone. Because let's face it, today paparazzi are just they're just vultures, and not that I ever have to worry about it, but I don't think I could ever live a lifestyle like that. So I could see why one would want to do that. So I would say plausible. I would say it could have happened, but he was looking pretty unfit at the end of his life there, or supposed end of his life, if you want to put it that way.
Okay.
So
anybody else have anything to add? I think we've covered that fairly well.
I mean, they did say that's how Princess Diana, they faked her death to get her out of the, the royal family did it to get her out. Either way, she either did it to get out or they did it to get her out. That was a conspiracy as well.
Okay, I'm just going to read through the chat real quick. Jim and Tupac says missing persons. Abandoned City Camo Crew, Elvis is on the moon. I don't know, man. That is really mixing things up. Interactive DNA. We can recreate anything. The government is now worried about fake videos from powerful people, and you're not be able to tell if it's real or fake. Okay. Walking to the Unknowns, thanking for support. Bruce Lee would be another one I could question, or I would question, should I say?
Brendan Lee.
Yeah, that's also very strange. Interactive DNA. I have to go, guys. Have a great evening. Knowledge is not more important than imagination. Keep imagining. Keep imagining. Be creative. Sorry. Yeah. Thanks for popping in, Interactive DNA. You have been literally on fire in the chat, and it's much appreciated. Always great to see you, mate, and I look forward to seeing you again real soon. If you haven't added me on Google Hangouts, it's up there. WondersGTA2015 at gmail.com, all in one thingy, no spaces or any of that jargon. Tom Petty is selling a ton of non-released songs now, I think. Missing Persons and Mysteries comes forward with Michael Jackson died in the 80s. His DNA was used to clone him using Elizabeth Taylor as a surrogate. Okay, that is next level. That is. I don't know. And he also goes on to say, that's a joke my mum would always tell me because Michael Jackson of the 90s and 2000s looks like he was half Liz Taylor and half Michael Jackson. Oh, I see, yeah. I've got some context to it now. I was 7 when Elvis died, but can remember mum telling me, mind you, at the time, I have no idea who he was. Lever Gun says, do you think Johnny Horton faked his death? I don't know who that is, unfortunately. Missing Person says, a really interesting conspiracy theory is Brittany Murphy and her husband were killed. I don't know, mate. I haven't looked into that one enough, but I will look into that. Another one is Celine Dion, part of the NWO. Not really sure. Now, I have caught up with the chat. I've tried to read everybody out. So next up, here's one that divides pretty much any conspiracy theorists. It's usually either yes, I do believe, or no, I don't believe, generally. And let's go into it, and people can get offended at this one a little bit. And I'm just gonna spell it out. Flat Earth. Right. And now Dennis knows I do like to talk about this one, but everybody has some theory about it. And just bear in mind, if you're in the chat and you believe in Flat Earth, I'm not here to slag it off. I'm not here to slag you off. I'm just here to get to the bottom of things, okay? And that's all. Because this one is gaining traction, the Flat Earth myth, conspiracy. Does anybody want to start off this conversation with what they know about the Flat Earth movement? Does anybody have anything to start off with? Because if not, I'm just going to be rambling on for the next couple of minutes.
I don't know. I don't believe it because all the other planets are round. Why would the Earth be flat?
Yeah, but the official story by the Flat Earth Society, the official statement they made as to, how do you know that all the other planets are round? The official statement they made that I've seen is because we've observed them to be round. Okay. I don't really know what to add to that. Essentially, Flat Earth is the belief that the Earth is flat, either an endless flat plane, where you can't go beyond a certain point for many varying reasons, many different reasons, or it's like a giant coin shape in space where it is like a disc with an edge, surrounded by a 200-foot high ice wall, patrolled by NATO to prevent anybody from seeing the ice wall. Obviously, Antarctica in that circumstance doesn't exist. Antarctica is just a 200-foot high ice wall. NASA makes up all the information. The International Space Station's fake. Any international flight you've ever been on has been a lie. If you've ever seen the curve of the Earth in any capacity, it's because of many reasons. Maybe because the screen's on the outside of the plane, and it's just like one big simulator or something like that. Or when you're seeing the curve of the Earth, it's either because they've got curved windows. And one theory I've even heard is when you get that high up, your vision becomes curved, so you see the curve of the Earth. I'm not entirely sure about that one. I'm just listing off what I've heard so far. Yeah, obviously that also goes into certain countries don't exist, including Australia and for some reason Norway, of which I've not got to the bottom of why Norway doesn't or shouldn't exist on the Flat Earth map. The sun is only just above the clouds, so is the moon. They're not. In some theories, they are there, but they're not as big as they're made out to be. They are not as hot and not as bright, but they're a lot closer, just above the clouds. And they move around like sort of like spotlights on like a rotation, just going round, like directed spotlights, basically. Yeah. What else is there to this? The entire thing is has a dome over it. the stars aren't real. The other planets out in space aren't real. It's either some sort of like drawing on the outside, the inside of the dome, or it's some kind of holographic projection. Another theory is that the sun and the moon are both holographic projections. Yeah, does anybody want to add anything to this? And I'll start with B-Town on this one. What do you reckon about any of that information? That's a lot to take in, I know. You can pick any part of
that. Well, if you think about it in a comical point of view, there's no physical way the Earth could be flat because cats would have pushed everything off of it by now. Just humorously, you know. But no, I don't. I was always taught the Earth is round, the planet's round, the sun is a star, billions of miles away from the Earth, but it is seen from Earth. I don't know where this theory came up, but what do you think?
Yeah, sorry. Go on, Brad.
The same thing, like, I've always been taught, you know, from a little kid that the Earth is round and so are all the planets. I mean, and the stars are, I forgot the word.
Balls of gas?
Yeah, and the sun is like thousands of light.
I think it's something like 92 million miles away. On average. Yeah.
I mean, I've heard of you know, the Earth is flat, but I've never really, you know, seen any evidence to back that theory up. I mean, I don't really know.
I think it's things like I am my too. If you really want to, you can tell the Earth is round because there was this one video of this. He was a daredevil. Like he was an adrenaline junkie. He was sponsored by Red Bull. He was flown up to the very tip of the atmosphere, almost like crossing the border into space. You could see the Earth, everything.
And he did a halo jump.
He did a halo jump, and he jumped from that to ground. You could see. I mean, and that was from a GoPro. So I think that's just like one of those theories that are like someone created on a really bad acid trip, maybe.
Well, this is the thing. Any picture of Earth that you've ever seen is just CGI, according to this theory. The live view from the International Space Station is CGI. There's no astronauts on the ISS, and there is in fact no ISS. Bearing in mind, for anybody who just joined, that I am speaking about the theory itself. I don't necessarily believe it. I do just want to shout out a good friend of mine, Eastad. My man! All right, I hope you're doing well. Nocturne Hall crew is one of me honorary members. He does like gaming live streams and that. I suggest you check him out. He is awesome. Yeah, so I think the main thing with Flat Earth, and don't get me wrong, I'm not religious myself. I'm not against any religion, but the Flat Earth thing does tie into Christianity itself, in terms of like the creation theory and everything, and a lot of religious people tie it into that as if, say the Big Bang Theory, the universe model under them rules, don't support creation theory in any way, or a god, or anything like that. So their Flat Earth theory then becomes sort of like in line with religion, if you know what I mean. So I'll throw this one at Mark then. Do you want to? You don't have to go into the religion part of it if you don't.
No, that's quite all right. I don't mind about that. I'm just like you're talking to a math teacher here now. So
yeah.
So I mean, we can go. I'm going to have to go to the. I'm a big negative on the flat Earth theory, just from an empirical standpoint. And again, you can make the facts up, I guess, but based on I don't know if I got the right guy right, but I think it was Copernicus who was able to calculate the circumference of the Earth using shadows and angles and such.
Yeah.
based on that and knowing what I know about math, I'd have to say that I'd lean more towards the roundness of the Earth, or I should say the elliptical shape of the Earth more than the perfect sphere that it is. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go with. I'm a believer of the round theory and then the flat theory.
Okay, I'll jump in quick before I pose this one to Dennis. Lever Guns just put, if it's flat, gravity would have pulled it into a ball shape. Now, just real quick, flat earthers don't believe in gravity, by the way. Gravity is just a wrong theory. And essentially the way everything sticks to the flat earth is the flat earth is actually travelling upwards at a speed, I can't remember how they calculated it, but I think it's something like 7 feet per second squared, and then that's what creates the illusion of gravity. Dennis, would you like to chip in anything from what's been discussed so far?
It's round. It's round. It's got to be round. Everything else is round. I mean,
thank you, mate. Thank you.
I'll tell you what, I would love to get a genuine flat earther on here one time, because this stream would be a hoot.
It'd blow up.
Right. Well,
it'd be good.
Invite all your flat earth friends and just dislike the heck out of me live stream.
So good.
Because I'm not going to be agreeing unless you come up with some sort of concrete evidence for me, basically.
Yeah.
There's like.
I mean.
Yeah. Sorry, mate.
So you see pictures of it round. You see it's round. You see, like, on the internet, you can see through the Space Center or wherever it's round. I've never actually seen a real picture of it flat. And if it is, I mean, it must. If it's going up, okay, and that's pushing us down, okay. Is it spinning? If it is spinning, everything will just fly off the edges unless these 200-foot walls keep everything in. I mean, the way you were describing it, Steve, it's sounding like one of them Jim Carrey films, you know, where he's in the dome and he reaches the edge on the boat.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be round. It is round. Everything else is round. You can see it's round. Yeah. You can't get away from it.
Yeah, I mean, if I may add, I mean, anybody who, I mean, and again, this may be too simplistic. If you're looking at the moon or some other planet through a telescope, and if you're saying that the Earth is flat and all the other planets might be flat, I mean, at some point you got to see the edge when because it does. I mean, it appears to be spinning, so you see certain geographical features from time to time, and if it's going around like that, at some point you got to see the edge. But that's just my simplistic thought about it.
No, now here's the thing, because you know there is an argument for every point that anybody wants to try and make.
Yeah.
Of course.
Essentially, the reason why you don't see this 200-foot ice wall is because NATO patrol this 200-foot high ice wall all around the edge of the flat Earth, and prevent people from getting to it or seeing it. And anybody who claims to have seen Antarctica essentially has seen the 200-foot ice wall, right? And then obviously they've come up with the I think it's some sort of Antarctic treaty where only certain military operations can take place and only research, settlements and whatever can be there. Something along them lines, and no civilians allowed to go there, like under this treaty. And I think that is more to do with preserving the ecosystem of the Antarctic more than protecting people from, seeing the 200-foot ice wall and having that grand realization that the Earth's flat, basically. Yeah, I've been high up enough in a plane, right, to see the curve of the Earth, but for a lot of flat earthers, they wouldn't take that as any sort of concrete proof. They'd blame it on the curve of the windows or the curve of my own eyes or some sort of atmospheric anomaly. And I mean, I took a picture out the aeroplane window and I drew a line on it, like on paint. Just drew a line across it, and you can clearly see that it bows at the edge. It definitely does have a curve from even that altitude, which is well in line with the size of the Earth for the altitude, because I did some basic maths behind it. I know he said basic then. Okay, so I'm just going to read out some chat real quick, because I can see that there's a few thingies going on here. Missing Person says, my mother worked with the ex-director of NASA. His name was Richard Burt. He passed away in '99. He once told my mother that everything in sci-fi films are not just creations of our imaginations. But we have already been created in one way or another, okay? That's cool. I'm going to shout out Eastad again. Great to see you, my man. Leave a Gun says, if it's flat, we could see the sun all the time. You can get on a lake and get down with your eyes, even with the water, and see stuff disappear. That's only 1,000 yards away. You can clearly see it cave. Yeah, and now flat earthers do this experiment over like lakes, large lakes and stuff, where they get these cameras, like I think it's the Nikon 1000 or something, and it has this insane like zoom on it, and they say, look, you can see ships on the horizon, you can see buildings on the horizon and whatnot, but there is actual like proven scientific theories that is more of like an atmospheric anomaly, that the light bends over certain distances to a point where you can actually see a certain amount of degrees over distance. So I don't know whether that debunks it or supports it in any way. Yeah, Sandra, two-dimensional paranormal investigator. Why would they lie to us and say the Earth was round? Now, flat earthers have many different theories as to why that would be. Some of them are completely outrageous, in my own opinion. Yeah, Centroid aerial images. Yeah, thanks for that, mate. And monkeys will fly out of my hashtag and sign exclamation mark. Spammy, how's it going, buddy? I hope you're well. Hi everyone, how are we? I'm doing just great. How's everybody else? Everybody else feeling good at the minute?
Very
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
I thought you were talking to everyone else. Talking to the chat.
Yeah, walking into the unknown with Jay says, been on loads of flights, it's round. But, you know, how can you be certain of that? Is the projections into the windows, or is it some sort of simulator, or are you just flying around in circles on a flat plane? You know what I mean? Yeah, all good here, thanks. That's all good. Yeah, now, another one of these theories says that, you know, a lot of these international flights can't actually happen. You know what I mean? They take a lot longer. So flat earthers, to compensate for this, actually adjust actual airspeeds and say that airlines are actually lying about where things are, locations, and the pilots wouldn't know because their own instruments, GPS, speed readings, everything like that, are all fixed to make it seem like they are flying on a globe when really they are traversing a flat plane, right? Which is where there's got to be a lot of people in on this, aren't there? This flat Earth thing to keep that quiet, don't you think? I know that, you know, like say the Manhattan Project, for example, it was something like 10,000 employees working sort of like under like compartmentalization, where each person works on a specific bit, but only the ones at the top have the full picture of what each bit is for, to be put together and obviously make the atom bomb. But with flat Earth, it is so multifaceted and has to cover so many different people. There has to be at least one whistleblower somewhere that says that, you know, that all of the world governments, all of the airliners, NASA, all the international space agencies are all lying. It's all pictures of Earth for CGI. Yeah, I don't know, man. Let's have one overruling statement for each person, a sentence or two long, just on, you know, let's round this up and move on. Let's start with Mark, mate. One final word. What do you reckon?
I got 2 words. Number 1, I'm a round earther all the way. And number 2, why am I the only bonehead wearing a hat now?
Because you've got the best one. You've won that right.
Okay.
Yeah,
like
your,
I said,
your hat is the best, mate. You definitely do get a trophy, man. I'm not kidding.
I'm wearing the trophy, apparently.
Okay then. B-Town Paranormal. One final word on the flat Earth. What do you reckon?
Well, they want to talk about CGI. See, there's old photos from back in the day. CGI was not invented back in the day.
Yeah, and this is going way back to Soviet Russia and their first space flight. with a stitched image of a round Earth. Yeah, way before CGI, like you say. Dennis, what do you reckon, mate?
Man, definitely round until it's proven otherwise. Until I see proper images coming from the space station up in the sky, then it's definitely round.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a really strange one for you, and this is probably going to be a fairly quick one. The conspiracy theory that Meghan Markle, you know, the wife of Prince Harry, or the now wife of Prince Harry, is a robot. Right?
We're back to that one?
Yeah, we're back to robots again, right? Yeah, apparently there's one clip online.
Yeah, I've seen that.
This is just a quick one. This one. There's one clip online. I can't show it, unfortunately. In the background, I am going to try and actually get this link for you. Give me 1 second so you can watch it for yourself. Give me 1 second, and I'm gonna put this in the chat for you. Okay. Here it is. I do have it. Just give me 1 second, please. Going in the chat right now. Okay. So really quick, check out that link, and tell me what you think. I can't actually play it on the stream. Obviously, don't want a copyright strike for it. It's about 20 or 30 seconds long. Give it a quick watch while we're talking about it.
Is that the one where they're sitting in the basketball court?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and they've got just no expression at all. Just
yeah. And
dead on sight, straight faces. It does look weird. It really does. I have to watch it a few times.
Awkward.
Yeah. I have put the link.
It.
I have put the link in the chat if you want to give it a quick look. Remember, if you're a guest on the stream, not to play any audio, please, if you would. But
their faces.
It's definitely a strange one.
That is awkward.
It's really strange. I have to watch it a couple of times. I've got to look at that again. If that's been done, obviously it has been done by a computer. It's been really well done. It's really good.
Now, the thing is, obviously that clip has sparked a lot of speculation that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, known as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, are robots, or at least have doubles that are robots. Yeah, but apparently this was actually orchestrated by Madame Tussauds in London, with a couple who did it with masks on. But since then, obviously this has carried over, and people do actually believe that they are robots, or at least do have like android replicas that they send on like public events and stuff, like stand-ins. You know what I mean? This is why they're all over the newspapers, and they're always one place or another. I don't know. What do you guys think, real quick? What do you reckon to that, Mark? Let's go for it.
Oh, well, I mean, the fact that we are in this age, I mean, anything can be CGI'd. I mean, that looked weird. I'm not going to lie. It was creepy. I'd never seen it before, never heard of it. So I'm reckoning it's relatively new. I don't know. I'd have to watch it again. I don't want to take the time to do it right now. But yeah, that was creepy. I don't know. I'd go with the CGI thing, but wow, that's weird.
Brad and Sarah then, B-Town Paranormal. What do you reckon? You just watched the clip?
I could have just been that they were bored, or just CGI.
I've been bored in my life, but I definitely don't keep that
yeah.
creepy expression on my face, sort of looking round in like a weird sort of, like me programming's going haywire or something,
Something tells me we're going back to Hillary Clinton on this one.
Oh dear, oh dear, we're going back down that dark path. Yeah, I just thought I'd share that with you anyway. Dennis, what do you reckon, mate?
Right, like I said, when I first watched it, I was just watching the basketball thing, and then I noticed it was the couple there, and it looks really weird, so I had to play it back, and that is so weird. It really freaked me out. It was creepy, and then obviously it's just so still, and it was creepy. But yeah, it's definitely CGI, but it's like you say, it's been made out to be something, and it's just people like these flat Earth people. They think this is real as well, But yeah, it was creepy. Really good though.
Yeah, a few people just watched it. That was creeptastic. Everyone's now accusing each other of being robots. A little bit of that's being aimed at me. I think next time I ask someone a question, I'm going to do my best robot impression in the background. Okay, we'll see that in a minute. Next time I pose another question. So next up then. Right, I know already, and this one is quite a biggie, but this is another one that divides people, and this is multifaceted. Area 51 and aliens, right, as a whole. And Mark just completely, his face just scrunched up because he thought, how long do you think we're going to be live streaming for? That was the expression you gave off. Sort of like a, he didn't, did he? Right.
I do have to pick up my daughter at work in 2 hours, so hopefully we can get that topic done in that time.
Yeah, I'm probably going to roll for another 20 minutes or so, just while we cover aliens and whatnot. Right, just let's start off, right, and we'll start with B-Town, then Dennis, then Mark. Without saying anything too much about Area 51 or aliens, just the question is, do you believe in aliens? Okay, I'll pose that one to B-Town Paranormal.
I believe in them to an extent. I don't believe they're like some little green little creatures, but I do believe there are millions of galaxies beyond ours, and we cannot be the only intelligent life form here. I don't believe we're the only intelligent beings.
Yeah, okay.
Even though some of us are way more than less intelligent, but, you get my point.
Okay, Dennis, what do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I believe in them. I believe there's something there. Obviously, you can get a lot of people believe in ghosts, but they've not really seen a ghost. They've seen a picture or something like that. But I do believe in the alien thing. I mean, like you said, it's not like little green men running around with coming down little flying saucers. I think more of the lines is more of the lines of War of the Worlds. They come down in sort of that form into the ground, and they probably live among us and underneath us. But I do believe in that in a big way. I mean, I could talk about it for hours, but I do believe there is things. I mean, we could be an experiment, of theirs to see how we get on, how we survive, how we evolve, and things like that. We
sort
could
of
be
sort of like the zoo hypothesis.
Yeah. And is this? Are we an experiment to fail? I mean, are they going to chip in at the end of right at the end if we do fail and save us all? Is that everyone's sort of God sort of thing? It's a.
Okay, 1 second before I move on to Mark. Sandra 2 Dimensional is asking me to paste the link. It should work. Did the link work for everybody else? That link I posted to the Meghan Markle robot thing. Did that link work?
Somebody said it didn't work in Safari, but it worked in Google.
Yeah, please try opening it up in Firefox or Google Chrome or something like that. I'm reposting it now, but the topic has moved on. So just a general all-encompassing statement, Mark. Do you believe in aliens, and in sort of like what capacity?
Okay. Well, again, here comes the math teacher in me. I just posted a link to something called the Drake equation. I don't know if anybody has ever looked into that.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
I posted it. It's the Wikipedia version, but it is an equation that attempts to show the possibility of other communicating forms of life out there, and it's going to sound a bit cliche, and I'm sure everybody's heard it, but I agree with the fact that as human beings we got to be pretty arrogant to think we're the only ones that could be existing in this universe. Do I believe that we've been visited by them and that there's been reverse technology developed by Area 51? Who knows, possibly, but there have been some interesting theories about, how we were seeded. Even Interactive said something earlier about how aliens have seeded the Earth with humans and other animals and such. And one of the interesting theories I thought, which actually made sense, because you would think if aliens came to this planet, they would leave more credible technological evidence that they were here. And this theory supposes that it is here. All these structures that have been built, I mean, everything from Stonehenge to the pyramids, they claim could have been built by aliens or helped built by aliens because, let's face it, most of the materials here on Earth that we build our buildings out of could never last nearly as long as stone could. Steel, concrete, that would all degrade and rot. But if they came here and helped and civilization get started, that the only thing they really had at their disposal of any kind of abundance would be the sheer rock and minerals that were around. So I found that to be an interesting possibility. So yeah, I think it's definitely possible. I do believe that there are other beings out there, whether or not we've been visited by them as frequently as some people would think. I haven't seen any myself. I'd love to. Well, then again, I don't know. Based on some of the movies, maybe I wouldn't. But yeah, I think it's possible.
Okay, well, that ties in to the ancient astronaut hypothesis, which does theorize that throughout history, any sort of miracles or religious godlike encounters, prophets, all sorts of extraordinary things that have been reported throughout religious events especially, have been sort of misidentified extraterrestrial visits. And have actually been either visiting or helping people either evolve or progress technologically right from the beginning of humans, possibly even, like you say, genetically engineering humans in the first place as some kind of experiment. Now, if you actually think about it, if people, right, had the capability to, and the most probably already do, to actually genetically engineer creatures that are slightly less intelligent than them as sort of an experiment, see how they'd look, see how they'd behave, and do it in sort of a controlled way, on an island somewhere in the middle of nowhere or in lab conditions, they'd do it, right? So why wouldn't potential extraterrestrials do the same thing and then see how they'd react to certain stimulus, how they'd react to new environments, new things, and I think that is an interesting sort of concept, especially the ancient astronaut hypothesis. What are your thoughts on that, Dennis?
Definitely, definitely. That's like what I was saying. We could be an experiment of them, and like you nicely put it, they've made like a not so intelligent sort of form and then put us on this planet instead of an island because of that technology to see how we got on. And I think every now and then they come across, people see these sightings and Area 51's supposed to have them, but I think they come across and just give us a little nudge every now and then to just push us on a little bit, because technology from now, from when TVs were first brought out to now, I mean, it's just wow, how can we have something from really fat come to really thin and hang on your wall to sort of now being sort of paper thin? How did we get that technology? I think it was given to us. I think we've been pushed that way from somebody.
A massive jump in technology was the development of the integrated circuit, which I believe was in the 1950s, the first actual sort of prototype, real chunky thing, nothing like the integrated circuit sort of designs and implementations today, as in sort of like smartphones and whatever. But I mean, the most simple sort of integrated circuit, where instead of having loads of wires hanging out, it's all literally like printed metal strips onto board, which obviously makes the entire process a lot neater and a lot more efficient, because you don't need to wire a load of things. You just print a board basically, and then that's the circuitry on the board. And now there is a lot of theories and rumours that came from reverse engineered alien technology, possibly from the UFO that was supposed to have crashed and been taken to Area 51. I mean, do you have anything to add to that, B-Town, or do you think any of that holds ground?
Now,
it could.
It very well could be possible, because, like I said, the whole Roswell incident, I have an uncle that was in the service, and I can't say what he did due to the stuff that he has done, but I was just joking around with him one day, and I had asked him, I was like, "Have you ever been to Area 51?" Because he's done a lot of traveling in his military career, and he sit there and told me, he's like, "Brad, if I did tell you, I would have to kill you."
Mm.
And usually, when you ask your uncle that's been in the military since he was 18, due to the drink, because when the draft came through or whatever, but
yeah, he worked at Area 51, but he can't say nothing about it.
Now, if he worked there, I'm not sure, just because of the fact that if he did, he wouldn't tell me.
But I do believe it's a possibility. I really do.
But I do believe that Area 51 does exist, because why would there be...
Not about Area 51. You're off topic.
Well, I know. I'm just saying.
Oh, no. The conversation is free to go wherever it wants.
but I mean, what you got to think about all these reports of these Boeing 747s leaving out of an airport in the middle of basically nowhere, and they're not being tracked, and it's just an all white Boeing 747. All the windows are covered, they're whited out, and you see all these people getting on these planes and taking off. And
there's been some really interesting drone footage at Area 51. Someone had like broken barriers and actually broke the wall to see what is there. It looks like a ghost town. It's all ran underground.
Oh yeah, most of it is believed to be underground, yeah. There's some hangars on the surface, but Area 51 is part of the complex that also includes Groom Lake, which is the world's longest runway, apparently, out in the Nevada desert, used for supposedly the development of the SR-71A Blackbird, which was 1960s Cold War spy plane, the fastest plane of all time, so fast missiles can't shoot it down, with extremely advanced camera technology. Also believed to be the development site of the F-117 stealth fighter plane, and the B-2 Spirit bomber, and the Raytheon modern day sort of combat drones that are used in the Middle East as well. So obviously that place there is ideal for top secret testing. I'm just wondering if, because that is technically an airport, would that count as a no-fly zone on the geofencing or whatever? But yeah, just
extremely illegal.
Because I'm probably going to start babbling about this, but I mean, I've seen the news reports and the videos of people I forget the name of the airport, but it's out there in the desert, and they fly, and they have all these government workers that they load up on these Boeings, and like I said, the planes are completely white. There's no markings of any type of airplane company, and all the windows are painted white or painted over.
Now
and
I
see
do
all
believe.
these people.
Yeah, sorry.
You see all these.
Yeah. Go on. It's all good.
But you see all these people loading onto these planes, and you see these planes taking off, or you see these buses driving out into the middle of the desert. But where are they going? I mean, they have to go, because you're not just going to drive a bus full load of people just out into the middle of the desert.
Yeah, for no reason. Yeah.
I mean, they have to go somewhere. I mean, there's got to be an entrance somewhere.
Michael Jackson and Elvis is at Area 51.
Okay, I'm just going to take a second to shout out my good friend Paul from PMDB Live. I've spent loads of time chatting to him in his live streams. I hope you're doing well, mate. You've not streamed for a while, but I often bump into you in chats and whatnot on live streams. I really hope you're doing well, mate. Thanks for popping in. Now, second point is the flights that go to Area 51 are apparently secret shuttle flights that fly from Las Vegas International, and they are completely white planes with like blacked out windows and everything, and they are the shuttle flights that take the employees there, and they land at Groom Lake. There's actually a mission on Flight Simulator 10 where you fly the shuttle flight from Vegas to Groom Lake, and during that mission on Flight Simulator 10, you do actually get buzzed by a UFO as well, which is really interesting that they'd actually put that in like a very serious sort of flight simulator game. But I really enjoy that mission. Anyway, Mike, what do you reckon, mate? Anything we've been talking about? You got out to add?
I think we started off talking about, I think it was alien astronauts or whatever it was.
It just flows, doesn't it? It's all good.
Well, I mean, again, I do believe it's possible. I am a fan of watching a lot of those programs that they have pertaining to ancient aliens and such, and I believe there's a lot more support and empirical evidence about that than there is about flat Earth, the flat Earth conspiracy. So I would have to lean towards absolutely. I think it's very possible. And again, like I said, the whole thought about how they, used the resources here to get us started. And I agree with Dennis that it may have been an experiment, and it may have been an attempt at rehabiting a planet that theirs was failing for all we know, and that's technically what we might be doing shortly.
Yeah. Infinite Flight Guys just came into the chat. He says, "Do you still remember me? I'm here since the Gatwick incident was talked about. I did a live stream since Dronegate at Gatwick, where I live streamed for about 3 hours. Most popular thing I ever did on my channel. I think that's now up to, I think it's approaching like 950 views. And at that time, I think the most viewers I had in on that stream was like 46 at one point, including 2 people who claimed to be at Gatwick while it was going on. And obviously, they was fairly credible in what they was saying. I hope you're really well, Infinite Flight Guy. I do remember you, mate. That's all good. Been busy. That's all good, mate. I'm going to round up the stream in a couple of minutes. We're approaching the 3-hour mark. I just want to say thanks to everybody who's been in for the great conversation, and thank you to all the guests. That includes Mark at Centroid Aerial Images, Brad and Sarah at B-Town Paranormal, and Dennis from DGM Films UK. If you either want to put something in the chat, or I'll just say now, essentially, if you want to check out the channels, which I highly recommend, they're all great channels, either growing, already quite established, still growing. We all want to grow. Check out everybody else's channels. Subscribe to me if you haven't done already. I'm sure everybody who's here has already subscribed to me. But the links to their channels are below the video if you want to check them out. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. Does everybody want to say a quick goodbye? We'll start with Mark on that one.
Well, no, I appreciate you having me in here, Steve. I'm new to live streaming, and I had a blast with this. So I think I was the last-minute admin to your program, and I really appreciate it. So thanks for the opportunity, and thanks to everybody who popped in here. It was a lot of fun, and I got to say, I learned a lot tonight about what people are thinking. So I got a lot to think about this week, that's for sure.
That's all good, mate. The pleasure was all mine. Would you like a quick goodbye, B-Town?
Yeah, sure. You want to kick it off?
Like I said, we want to thank everybody and thank Steve for having us on tonight, and the 2 guys on the panel. It was good meeting you guys.
Thank you for everyone
coming
in.
We had a blast, and hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Yes. Okay, Dennis, you want to say a quick goodbye, mate?
Yeah, I want to say goodbye to everyone on the chat. If I didn't say hi, I've been trying my hardest. My computer's playing up; it's lagging a bit. So if I didn't say hi, I apologise. It was great meeting you guys on the panel for the first time. You've been great to talk to. I felt really comfortable talking with you guys. Steve, thanks again for bringing me on to this panel. Next time I will. I promise. I'll make sure I've got some tinfoil in there. I promise you. Thanks a big thank you to everybody.
Yeah. Just before we get off, I'm going to put my Twitter handle in there. Please follow me on Twitter. And for the next tinfoil hat stream, basically send in your pictures of your own tinfoil hats, and the best one will get the award of best tinfoil hat, right? Which will include regular shout outs of your channel, you know, constantly bigging you up throughout the stream, and it'll be much appreciated just participating, so we have a good laugh, and that's all good. So I'm going to hit the stop button right now. Thank you everybody for coming in. Thanks to all the guests, and I'll catch you all on Wednesday when I'm streaming again, probably with more guests, and I'll see you all again real soon. Take it easy, guys.
Take care, everybody. Thanks again.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Bye bye.